Welcome everybody to the AEL University League Season 1 Finals. This time it's a double cast because we are really into the important matches now. LoonyMelb and Adelaide Uni Esports, they're on their last life here fighting for all the glory and all the pride and all the effort they've already put in this season. Aries is on the line here in this best of 3.
Take this best of 3 tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And obviously the draft already underway, so we won't take up too much time. We'll jump to the in-game screen. You can see what's happening. We've got Centaur banned out. That's pretty standard. Medusa and Bristleback, all these key heroes that have been dominant in many games throughout the finals already, being removed now. So teams have, it seems like, really worked out exactly what the threats are on this patch, and they're ready to play, well, against more balanced heroes, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we say more balanced heroes and the Grimstroke gets picked up. That's one of the better heroes right now, I think, especially with all the buffs to the shard and just, I think, the laning stage prowess and what that hero can provide. But, you know, this is definitely an Adelaide Uni draft. They're a team that very much likes the Jakiro, which is definitely interesting because, you know, my at least opinion on the Jakiro, I don't rate it as heavily, but this is a team that puts a lot more emphasis on it, and it's really nice to see just some teams have their kind of own unique kind of draft and hero pool that they can thrive on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's no good having a signature hero if you can't earn the respect of other teams, if it doesn't actually win games for you. But certain players, that's the thing with Dota. Even at TI, comfort comes out at the highest level of the game, and the things that an experienced player with hundreds or even thousands of games on a hero can do go, 1%, 5%, 10% beyond what anyone else could, and sometimes that's the difference. So it's good that they back it here when the stakes are as high as they possibly could be.
Yeah, and I'm just intrigued to see how they're looking to kind of enable the Jakiro, because it's a hero that has a lot of long duration abilities to get chucked out, like the cast point on Dual Breath, Ice Path, Macropire. They're all really, really high, and it can make it very difficult for Jakiro to hit the abilities. So that's where we see some heroes like the Puck, the Void, to the heroes that banned out. Nug has always been a nice Jakiro pairing, but you kind of have it right now with the Shadow Demon Banishment. That's nice. You get the disruption set up. It's very easy for the Jakiro to lay down the Ice Path, lay down the Macropire, but I'm intrigued to see how Adelaide Uni want to play with the Jakiro. If it's more just the laning stage prowess of just constantly being able to out-harass someone and kind of win over in that regard, or if they're really going to try and utilize the full toolkit of the Jakiro with the team fight capability too.
Yeah, I mean, they've already banned out a couple of the strongest combinations with the Jakiro, right? When you consider its teamfight utility, obviously it pairs very well with heroes who can hold enemy heroes still, really at the Macropire burn. All of the other damage over time abilities have their full effect, but Dream Coil and Chronosphere, two of the best abilities for that, are ones that they have taken out of the pool. Of course, there are reasons to fear the Chronosphere beyond just what Jakiro can add. Lots of heroes combine well, but I would have thought Shadow Demon and Jakiro, these are really quite defensive supports in a teamfight perspective. Like, you have abilities that can guard you against these teamfight spells, but they still feel that the Void is just not safe to leave in the draft pool.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with some of the bans. I guess they're just more worried about LoonyMelb, and you kind of have to be worried as well with the fact that LoonyMelb have 2 answer picks in the second phase now. So if you leave the Faceless Void there, maybe they can pick it up at the 18th pick, and then it could be very difficult for Adelaide Uni to deal with someone like a Faceless Void. They are banning out a lot of carries here. So the Void gone, the Phantom Lance are gone as well. They are kind of lacking ways to deal with illusions. So it's difficult going into a series and you get, 18th pick Phantom Lancer and you're like, oh crap, what do we do now? Like, we really have no PL counters, but they've got a lot of tower push and a lot of team fight here with this Death Prophet getting picked up. It does give them some flexibility. You can put that Death Prophet in the mid lane, you can put that Death Prophet in the side lane as a position 3 as well. So it's going to give Adelaide Uni the capability to have some versatility in their lanes, which is always nice, but regardless, it is going to be a good matchup versus the Void Spirit, and a nice answer in the AA though.
Yeah, exactly. Interestingly, the AA in the pool, obviously Death Prophet, not the hero who sort of countered the hardest by Apparition, but still one where the healing is a big part of her teamfight capability, so maybe that's an indication, especially now the AA has actually been picked up and the bluff has been called, that this isn't going to be like the real anchor of your strategy, not the mid laner. They're not going to be playing, you know, around that exorcism timing as much, just to minimize the potential blowout. But I do like the combination of supports with DP. If you are going to try and side lane it, they offer nice tools, and it is, as you said, a way to utilize the Jakiro beyond the laning phase, right? Like, Jakiro obviously has, you know, pushing potential above that of most other supports. Liquid Fire, very handy tool, but it not by itself really constituting a pushing draft. But you add a Death Prophet, you add a tower hitting carry that can help you go up the high ground or supplement the exorcism when it's on cooldown, and then suddenly you have a team that can really leverage any advantage they take out of that strong laning phase by immediately clearing tier 1 and 2 towers off the map.
Yeah, the issue is that if they put the Death Prophet in the side lane, then it's either going to be with a Shadow Demon and a Jakiro, and I think you really want a Death Prophet with a melee 4. You know, just someone that can kind of, like, that's 4 ranged heroes now for Adelaide. They've got a big issue with how they start fights. You now have to heavily rely on the Wind Ranger having a great game, which is going to be mid. I don't think you can flex this hero in other roles, so you're going to have to play a Wind Ranger mid that really has to pop off, because they need kind of that, you know, Death Prophet can give them a little bit of tempo whenever they have Exorcism, but you don't start fights on Adelaide Uni, and that's really the big issue I see with their lineup. Like, you have to rely on either Death Prophet getting really farmed and just chasing you down with Exorcism, and that's how you start fights. If the enemy team just disengages, like, you don't have many stuns, and I don't know, this last pick from Adelaide really, I feel like, has to fulfill a lot of things they're missing.
Yeah, I do think that the nature of their range heroes that they do have offsets the issues that you normally see with this kind of draft a little bit. Like Death Prophet, yes, she is a ranged hero, but she's definitely not afraid to get into melee, get in the thick of things, right? Like, this is a hero that can, at least if you're not ice blasted, potentially survive for quite a while in the heart of the enemy team, especially when you get ahead early on items. And, you know, the other heroes, while they may not be as eager to get themselves in there and hold a strong formation in a team fight, they have heavy area denial spells. Like, Wind Ranger's Shackle Shot, Jakiro's Ice Path really control, like, lanes of approach. Shadow Demon can bail heroes out, and I think their ability to kite will somewhat offset their lack of, like, a big tanky melee frontliner.
Yeah, you are right though. Like, the lanes of approach thing is a bit of an issue here for LoonyMelb. Like, there's a lot of AoE control you've got to be worried about. Ice Path, Macropire, like you said, Shackles. Running into a DP is a bit awkward, but this Axe pick, it's...
What do you think of the Axe Grimstroke lane? Because that's not the 100% the Grimstroke thing I think of, but it seems strong.
I think it's still... I think pairing a Grimstroke with any aggressive laner is... I think you can still have a really good time. Like you said, it's not really someone you think of, but it's just... Like, Grimstroke with the Ink Spell, and Axe already moves really fast. He's already going to be able to gap close. That's a person who wants to play super aggressive in the lane. And you're against a Jakiro, who's a pretty slowish range, and if you get caught out, there's nothing you can do. So I think they just are looking for some ways to really start. And my only question about the Axe getting picked up is that it's into a Shadow Demon. I think anyone with a save capability against the Axe really negates a lot of his aggressive factor on being able to blink call and kill someone at the start of a fight here. So if Shadow Demon's positioning's on point, it is going to be hard to position correctly though, because like we keep saying, like, you've got really no one on a front line. DP kind of can, but this is definitely a game where Death Prophet can get burst down, like Axe Jump, Void Jump into an Ice Blast. It's a real scary game for Adelaide Uni. I think, again, at least they have this Ultra last pick in the 24th, so, you know, we'll see what they're able to pick up here to really offset their weaknesses, but it's going to need to be... I don't really need tower hitters. You can shove out lanes relatively well, but I actually just think they need, like, some form of raid boss, and, you know, I believe... Is Alive still a band?
No, that's been left in the pool. Lots of the other popular carries are out, but LS is still in the game. Doesn't offer a lot of control, but as you said, if you get tanky enough, you can just get on the front line. That being said, maybe that's why the Axe is picked up, right? Because Axe is not an obvious counter to any of these ranged heroes. It's going to be really hard to get a multi-hero blink call against them. Shadow Demon, obviously, as you said, can negate the impact of that blink call, even if it's on one hero. So it seems like you've either picked Axe because you have a very specific synergy in mind, which I don't really see any in particular, or moreover, you're trying to counterpick something Adelaide haven't picked yet. You're anticipating their last pick. So they ban the Jug, and they ban the Sven, and then maybe their idea is that the Axe kind of pre-counters a potential lifestealer, because there's just not that many viable strength melee carries left that can sit on the front line here. Then maybe a DK, might be a Wraith King, or they could go for a less traditional core hero and just try and have a very early timing, right, and use DP and Windranger to push.
Yeah, you can double down on your lanes. That is a potential here, because you see LoonyMelb have got the late game secured with the Spectre, and I think AA gives you a nice capability to go late game as well because of the Ice Blast. Like, you always have this way to burst a hero down from 4 to 0, but if Adelaide Uni go for that, then it does leave them on a very slight window here to end this game, and it's not going to be too easy. You know, it just... maybe double down on lanes, take towers early, and hope for the best. But again, in teams like these, I always at least like them having some late game win condition, because they're not as experienced, and they are going to struggle with hitting those really fast, quick timings that you have to. It means the amount of mistakes you can make is very, very low.
And it is the Wraith King. Okay, so they didn't go all in. I thought maybe, like you said, okay, maybe they've just committed themselves to practicing a really one-dimensional strat, and that's what they're going to gamble on here in game one, knowing they have a game in the bag, maybe pick like an Abaddon or a Beastmaster. But they go back and they get a more traditional carry. It is the Wraith King. The Wraith King and Spectre, I mean, I feel like there's games where if the Wraith King has a much better laning phase, you can kind of farm pretty well on that hero and keep up with the Spectre for a very long time. It's more about like the fact that Wraith King, if he's farmed, can really menace these backline heroes, really make it hard for Void Spirit to play aggressively, and it'll take a while for Spectre to match that damage output. But like you said, I don't think this really dents LoonyMelb's grip on the late game with the lineup they've drafted. All of their heroes scale very efficiently, even the supports, in how they contribute to fights. So Adelaide Uni, despite picking up this actual carry hero, they're still kind of on the timer to me.
They are, but it does give them a little bit better way to go late game, I think. The Wraith King is pretty solid against the Spectre, because you don't mind building Silver Edge. I'd say you farm faster than the Spectre just because of the built-in mechanic with your skeletons, whereas Spectre kind of has to go max dispersion into a blade mail to actually be able to take stacks, whereas Wraith King doesn't really need that. So I think the Wraith King, at least also with the second life capability, I really like having that factor against a lot of big team fight lineups and kind of, haunt in. I guess it can still be the issue is, we said that they've got four ranged heroes. So like, how are you actually going to be able to play this? Like, you can just haunt on top, literally kill everyone else on Radiant's team, and then deal with the Wraith King at the latest edge of the game. And that honestly might be what they look to do here for Dire. Yeah,
I mean, it's a game where like neither team I think has like necessarily lost in the draft, but this is kind of a fraught draft for Adelaide Uni. There are big holes which could be impactful in the game, or we might not see them come up, right? Depending on how these lanes go. Certainly they seem to be the team more invested in this early game, in this laning phase going right for them. Of course, obviously you'd be wanting everything to go right. It is the finals, it is lower bracket, right? Both these teams on their last life, and so we're hoping that, everything is really at its peak here, performance included, which means we're hoping that they're locked on to the hardware of our hardware sponsors, AOC, the monitor partner, and of course Rig, our headset partner. Thanks to all of the sponsors who make these AEL Uni League finals possible. But now the team's taking it slow. It seems like they are aware of the risk. Obviously, you would hate to gamble and lose at the runes and say make your mids lane really hard, giving away first blood or something like that. So they're just both being very conservative, keeping vision of their own area, and it looks like we'll be splitting runes evenly and heading off to the lanes. Who do you have in this mid lane matchup, by the way? It looks like it's going to be just DP against Void Spirit.
It's a lot of time it's going to be range favored. The DP with the Spirit Siphon, it's going to be difficult for the Void to play into. He's got a little bit easier way to harass as well with the Crypt Swarm. So You know, we'll see what Yarrick is able to do here, but I think the Void Spirit, it's still another. It's going to be revolved around him getting power runes and then making rotations on the side lane. So I think that's how he can really try and play his lane.
On the plus side for him, I feel like his supports are the ones that are more likely perhaps to be rotating and securing those early runes. Now, it's been the early game, though. They are making the impact in the lanes, trying to set things up well. We've got Bogged Finance and Duck Flinger, a duo I always love to talk about when we watch LoonyMelb. They've been very dominant in most of their matches, and with Duck Flinger on the signature axe, I imagine they're looking for a similarly big performance from him today. Axe, though, with level 1 Battle Hunger, you know, limited in your ability to get aggressive. Wraith King Jakiro is not a soft safe lane, so they've done well to kind of blunt the impact of this powerful combo that was drafted early on by LoonyMelb.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be, like we were saying about the Jakiro with not really having a way to be able to set up for like the Ice Path or set up for abilities. And at least that Wraith Fire Blast is going to be nice for the laning stage here if they do look to get pretty aggressive. And yeah, it's going to be a lane where we see kind of more on level timings in particular to where we can maybe get some kills coming down in that lane.
Yeah. Right now, though, everyone's just sort of brawling the support, stopping each other from pulling. Highly contested lane up top. It looks to be contested in a different way where sort of both teams are trying to play with the creep aggro. We see Unleashed up here on the Wind Ranger, taking a ton of damage from the wave, all to ensure that the equilibrium is favorable and that Vorkor will have to, sort of choose to go out on a limb in order to hit the creeps as this spec. AEST has been a great support throughout the final series, but Ancient Apparition, not really a defensive support, not a typical babysitter for this spec, and that's something that I guess they just sort of budgeted for in their draft. They're hoping that, Vorkor, very reliable carry player, is going to be able to catch up from any slight deficit it produces.
Yeah, that is kind of the one issue with the Ancient Apparition, is that you definitely aren't the strongest laner, so we'll see what Kage is able to do. Like, already trying to play for pools, unfortunately unable to reset the equilibrium. They did push it underneath the tower, so that's naturally going to do a little bit of the job here, but we see. And another thing we didn't really bring up is that it's the Wind Ranger kind of the off lane, which is definitely interesting to see. How I'm really intrigued, honestly, on Unleashed's item build this game.
Yeah, I mean,
how he wants to kind of go, if he goes something like the Javelin, or if it's still going to be more of the utility Wind Ranger. We could see like a Solar Crest Blink, maybe Yules to deal with the axe. Yeah, it's going to be a bit versatile here from Leech, and I'm intrigued to see what he wants to go for. But there's a lot of action.
Oh, yeah. We see, actually, finally, Duckflinger gets the first blood. I mean, it took a while. We mentioned, Jakiro and Wraith King, no slouches, but Wraith King, he's limited in his ability to actually fight, right? He's not an easy target to kill, but he's not set up to trade super efficiently. Wraithfire Blast, not the strongest spell for that early level, so it doesn't really help the Jakiro's natural strength. And you can see Psycho Slayer, obviously, this, Wraith King is just focused on farm mostly, so his support kind of pays the price for that. However, it's not really impacting the Wraith King's farm, which is the objective of the lane. He's mostly keeping up, actually out-farming the Spectre, and near to Yarak's own creep score in the mid lane, so I don't know if they'll be too upset. I'm sure Master Jeff understands his role in the lane here as the Jakiro. You kind of just got to put your body on the line, and against Grimstroke Axe that won't always work out. But in the mid lane, you mentioned the Void Spirit. It's going to come down to the runes and how well Yarak plays, and Yarak does seem to be sort of taking a bit of a stranglehold over the lane and already prepping to pick up the 4-minute water runes and continue just spamming out, threatening this DP with the Void Spirit combo.
Yeah, I mean, Yarek's doing a lot better than I was expecting, at least last hit-wise. He's ahead of the Death Prophet right now. We haven't really seen anyone else in this game kind of make their stamp on the mid lane, so it's just the 1v1 at the moment, and honestly very impressed with how Yarek's performing. But the issue is you got to be careful because of the Death Prophet exorcism capability. Like, maybe if you get a power rune and do opt to leave the lane, you're gonna have to be really quick with your movement. Otherwise, if you're 50 seconds too late, if you don't get a kill out of it, well, that exorcism is going to cost you a lot of damage on the tower if the Death Prophet does opt to use it there for the mid lane. So it is definitely going to be something you have to keep in mind here for Yarek's Void Spirit in regards to how he makes plays. So maybe he might be a little bit more reactionary on the side lanes, considering
Okay, interesting moment here. We got Duckflinger diving under the tower. Both supports had to back for a second. That left Psycho Slayer very exposed, and Master Jeff has arrived back in the lane here on the Jakiro. Just a couple of seconds too late. Bogged Finance getting back faster, maybe due to the boots. Master Jeff obviously sticking a long time as level 2 Jakiro to float back to base, and that ends up costing the Wraith King his life in the long run. So I talked about how that lane was actually going well. I gotta take that back. Now we're starting to see some problems arise. You know, the Spectre not out farming, so to speak, but Vorkor looks way more safe, way more comfortable. Unleashed just can't exert the same pressure that an Axe can, driving back the carry under the tower like that.
DP mid as well.
Oh yeah, TK's in a lot of trouble. Has the Exorcism though, and the Soul Siphons. Actually, Yarrick, maybe the one who ever committed at first glance. It looked like he was the one who was about to take the kill, but he ends up barely slipping away with his life. Now, granted, you did just force an Exorcism, so this could turn out well for you, but yeah, they have to bring someone over. They're actually rotating up Bogged Finance on the Grimstroke, because if you just leave this lane, TK gets to convert this Exorcism onto the tower and fully heal. You want to get in and punish him for sticking around in the lane, and yeah, he looks like he's in massive trouble. Great combination, no ward at 6 minutes to scout that Bogged Finance rotation. Of course, bot lane remains pushed in, and that frees up, like we said, the supports from LoonyMelb are in a great position to make that kind of play. Huge payoff for it there.
That's just a bit of a mistake. I see what he was going for with using the Exorcism, but you never want to use your first Exorcism like that. Like, it is a big cooldown ability where you can get some objective damage, even more than likely get an objective kill out of it as well, and can very much limit how the Death Prophet can impact the game if you have some rough early usages of that big ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like you should have maybe just taken the death to the Void Spirit? Because it did seem like without the threat of that Exorcism, Yarrick would have finished off that kill by himself.
I probably didn't have to pop ulti. He thought Yarrick was going to fully commit there. I mean, maybe if he doesn't
Spirit Siphons, he's okay.
Then Yarrick continues running in. I'm not sure, but like regardless, it's unfortunate that he had to use it. The worst thing is that he got greedy and stayed around to try and get a little bit extra last hits with the X's, and that's the worst thing about it. The fact that he still died even using it, so you know, it gives Yarrick a great start here. He's almost got the phase boots completed with level 7 as well, maxed out Resonant Pulse, so his burst potential is really going to start to skyrocket him.
Bogged Finance throws down the deep
thinking about a dive.
They are really set. Oh, they're thinking about it. Bogged Finance can just about taste this other kill. I mean, Duckflinger requires absolutely no help down bottom when a triple bracer Axe build and is just viciously creep skipping. Of course, Wraith King, out of all the carries in the world, not the worst at dealing with that. He's going to be able to happily CS under the tower, but you know, obviously it means that Duckflinger is shooting up to the top of the last hit tables, and meanwhile his support is now free to just harass TK even further, really ruin this DP's laning phase. And yeah, the sort of one rough decision to use the Exorcism kind of got you greedy, like I better justify this, now you've taken a death. This whole early game has been stymied, and it's such a harsh hero to take that setback on because DP operates on such fixed cooldowns, right? It's not just you've delayed your game by however long it takes you to respawn, you've now got to wait your whole Exorcism cooldown, it's going to take you longer to take down this tower in mid, it's going to take you longer to start affecting other lanes. So Yarrick, in the meantime, like you said, has those phase boots up, has a regen bottled, and you can already see him sniffing for opportunities in these side lanes where maybe he can kind of cascade this into a winning map for LoonyMelb. But instead, it's the Radiant who are getting aggressive. WDK on the Shadow Demon banishes Kage-S. There's 3 heroes up here. They've rotated the Jakiro. Support rotations finally. AOU getting in on this as well, and they pressure Vorkor back under the tower. Of course, they only kill the support. Bogged Finance comes up here to make sure of that. So not the biggest win, but WDK unfortunately goes down. Yarrick arrives in the lane, just like we said, looking for those rotations always, and it seems like it's going to be 1-for-1, but still an early warning sign of how powerful this Void Spirit's going to be through the mid game as the dominant mid laner.
Gotta keep an eye on mid though. That's where the Death Prophet did pop that Exorcism. So exactly like I was saying, if you leave the lane, you gotta come back to mid incredibly fast. And TK just uses a bit of a window there to do a lot of damage on the T1 tower. So you know, Lisa's gonna, if you bring that tower down really early, it can give a lot of momentum to the Radiant lineup.
They're really stretching Yarrick, right? Because like you said, you don't want to leave him mid lane. Another Exorcism will finish the tower, but in the meantime, you know, the Spectre, you just left her alone. Now she has to pop her ultimate to get away from a possible kill, and it looks like she dies anyway. Didn't have anywhere safe to haunt to. So the 3 heroes top just stayed top, and unfortunately, Vorkor decides to test his luck and bites the dust. So now that Yarrick rotation looking really sketchy, because you weren't able to actually preserve your Spectre's life for more than a few seconds. You got a support kill, and you mostly lost your tower.
Yeah, just probably a bit of a oversave from Vorkor there, honestly. He's got the Blade Mail picked up. He's gone for a couple more points in Dagger. probably just for the laning stage prowess. But as soon as you get Blade Mail, I think it's time to go back into the jungle, because they do have that capability of kind of bringing a +1 and killing him off without really any help. So yeah, I guess he was kind of relying on maybe he can haunt away, but you know, it just sticks around for a little bit too long, unfortunately.
Oh, Psycho Slayer, he's in trouble now. Of course, his Wraith King has the Reincarnate ready and managed to get all the way back onto the tower, so not an aggressive Reincarnate, but his team is still coming in. They're trying to make something of this. Unleashed teleported in a little bit too keen, and he becomes the target. He goes down, Duckflinger chopping his head off, the barehanded axe getting in there, getting some blood on his hands early on, and a real taste for the action. And Vorkor's here as well, so actually this whole team, they are ready to fight at 10 minutes, and I don't know if Psycho Slayer's ready for this. He has 3 minutes cooldown on the Reincarnate now. He thought he was going to be able to stick around and farm the Creep Wave, and they're like, no, we haven't actually left. And so just as one carry overestimates his ability to stay in the lane and farm under pressure, so too does the other, and now Duckflinger is having a really good game as well as Yarak. Actually, okay, to say he can't catch the Jakira. He was being very optimistic there, but I mean, look at this build. Phase Boots, Ring of Health, Triple Bracer. This is a keen axe. He is ready to scrap.
Look, I don't know about Triple Bracer. I really don't know why he went Triple Bracer.
He was committed. He came to lane with 3 gauntlets and immediately made 3 braces.
I mean, he's top of the net worth, so I can't really say too much, but he's also level 25 plus axe. I don't know what he's 28, so he spams the axe. He's got probably a little bit better of an understanding than I do. I don't play him as much, but Triple Bracers are just for the lanes. Like Wraithband, Bracer, Nulls, you only buy them for the lane. And getting 3, it's a lot of commitment into just a little bit of stats. I mean, it's what, 525 gold, 505 gold.
I think it... Oh, hang on, look at this. We're going in deep onto the Jakira here. The Death Prophet also under the tower. That Exorcism is available, and it gets popped, but it's only level 1, and it's not the fastest acting skill. So by the time it comes out, Master Chef is already down the Jakira. And now TK walks in to try and use that Exorcism, but Duckfling is so tanky with the Triple Braces and the Phase Boots. He just chops her head off. Now Unleashed is going to die as well. That's already 2 cores down. They do get Duckflinger, and it is an unstoppable streak, but that money goes to WDK on the Shadow Demon. I don't think you can justify that trade. They are testing the Triple Bracer build, and I mean, at 12 minutes in, that is an efficient use of gold. Like you said, it's not going to hold up in the long term, but for now, Duckfling is the boss. You got to respect it.
Yeah, they just get a couple kills milled, really important ones as well. The Exorcism back on cooldown, and look at the farm they're getting across the map. It's a 4,000 net worth lead. You've got Vorkor that's keeping up in farm. Is, you know, the Blade Mail has got 3 points in the dispersion, so he's starting to get that kind of farming maxed out here. Do they have any stacks at the Ancients for the
looks like they have
right now?
One stack, it looks like, just a modest one, and yeah, the hard camper stacked as well. Looks like someone's had a crack at that. But yeah, Spectre, not the fastest stack taker. Still nice for her to have somewhere to go that's a bit off the map. But I don't even know how much pressure Vorkor's under, right? Like, they 3-man ganked him in the lane, but they don't have an axe. They don't have, like, a clear hero that can jump in. I guess it would, in theory, be Unleashed, but Unleashed has just the Javelin right now, and the Spectre already has a Blade Mail up. So I feel like right now, they actually lack a real way to pressure Vorkor, and that could become a massive problem for them.
Yeah, definitely. Like, they're going to have to keep playing this game pretty fast. I mean, Wraith King actually went... He's gone Armlet AC, so that's really going to force Psycho Slayer to get active early. You did not go for this farming build at all. And he had a relatively good lane as well, so it's not like he was thinking he needed the... I'm trying to think. Like, if he was going Armlet Radiance, then the Armlet would just be telegraphing that he thinks the enemy team is going to play really fast, but... I want to see them go top. Like this next Exorcism, they haven't got anything out of it. You need that tier 1 tower top. That's your next objective. You definitely should be playing for that, but
it looks like they want to finish the mid tower. But oh yeah, Unleashed. Yeah, I don't know if he was trying to set up for his team or not. He was standing back for a moment there. It seemed like he recognized the danger. Yarak was running up. They didn't have a ward on it, but it seemed like the Wind Ranger was playing a bit cagey. Not so. Decided to walk forward onto that crit wave anyway, and yeah, it turns out that was a mistake. Yarak was waiting to pounce. Now that's another lane they can abuse the tower in, and Bog Finance gets to reset to mid, where, I mean, TK, I'm not sure if this constitutes the DP in recovery mode, and he just wants to finish the Yules before he makes the next big play, or whether they're dead set that they need to finish off this 300, 400 hit point tower tower in mid, but there is no attempt to move the DP around, and that's really forcing the whole team to play completely static, when I think we all agree, and even from their builds, they know they need to be the ones pressing the tempo right now, but, you know, they don't have a Blink Dagger on anyone. The Wraith King could go for it, but he's just settled into farm an AC. TK wants to have a couple of utility items up to avoid dying like in the last fight, and the whole team really seems like they have tripped at the first hurdle, and now they're desperately trying to recover from those lanes.
Yeah, you just gotta get that top tower. Like, that top tower just has to die, because then that's just an extra maybe 2-3 camps that the Wraith King can farm, maybe even an extra wave or two, because of how a little bit more pushed up you can be without that tier 1 tower there. So that's just, you gotta get that tower. It doesn't even matter about how weak mid is at the moment, because it's so easy to defend on.
Oh, team fight happening. I was about to compare the carries, but it's not about the carries right now. It's about this team fight in mid. 4v4, and TK again dies very quickly. That's the power of AEST. The Ice Blast rattles that DP. She can't do her job like that, and there's no real way to itemize against it, especially this early in the game. So, I mean, they do actually take down Yarrick again. They have the damage to bring the Void Spirit down, but I feel like this is still better for LoonyMelb, especially as the carries arrive, and Vorkor setting up to pressure this tower. Duckflinger is still here, still a force. Without the DP, we talked about the lack of a frontline. Psycho Slayer just isn't able yet to stand into the face of their team, doesn't put on enough damage pressure, you know, can't really take that risk, so instead they just have to concede a tier 1 tower mid, and it's funny to me how we see Vorkor up here aggressively taking towers, pushing enemy lanes up to the tier 2, while the Wraith King is the one farming the jungle, just taking stacks, not able to walk even to the enemy tier 1. It's a real contrast from how I'd expect things to go with these carries.
Yeah, very much so. Maybe this is, I don't know, it could be that the Wraith King's choosing not to show up to these fights, and he's telling the team like he feels like he's not ready yet, or, you know, the team just aren't kind of taking fights around it. But I definitely feel like you go arm the first item, you got to be showing up to the fights with the team, and, you know, this could just be them, like I said, not really getting him involved in these fights, but it's costing them. Like, Dire just continuing to have more farm allocated to them across the map. The real estate's in their favor. You see Duckflinger.
Duckflinger catches the DP, and AEST is sitting right there. Nice disruption. Gonna help her a little bit, but it wasn't fast enough to actually save her from being hit by the Ice Blast. So TK has to be so careful about taking this fight. Granted, it is only a level 1 Ice Blast, so it's going to expire very soon. And actually, they did not get any rotation. The Haunt is on cooldown. Yarrick wasn't close enough, apparently, to want to commit to the fight. And so the DP's life is spared. That's actually a pretty big win relative to how this game's been going. And goodness knows Adelaide did need that one. So they survive, they preserve the exorcism cooldown. Now maybe they can look to take a tower, given that LoonyMelb will be back on their heels a little bit. Yeah,
we'll see what LoonyMelb opt to do here. I mean, they still have Haunt on cooldown for another 50
Yarrick,
seconds.
He's invisible. The Wraith King's a pretty tough cookie to break up by himself, and they know he could have backup, so yeah, I don't think he's keen enough to go for this, but with the Yule Scepter, any other hero is free game right now to the Void Spirit, and it looks like they've found another hero, because TK has showed up to top lane to press the attack here, and even with the Jakiro around, you know, the burst damage in this Void Spirit's fearsome. Spectre's Haunt, okay, it's 30 seconds away, maybe that's what they're going to wait for, but I'm just scared for them right now, Adelaide Uni. This Yarrick Void Spirit has been so dominant throughout the game so far, and now that there's a Blink Dagger up on Duckflinger's axe, their scared play starts to look justified.
Oh, very much so, but I think this is just a... Oh, mid lane?
Yeah, just Shakira just walks into the Void Spirit. That is the fate that we predicted. It's even easier than I anticipated. No Yule Spirit required in that case. And I guess that's tanking the gank for your team in a way. But, you know, the perimeter for them is closing off, and you didn't really earn any concessions. No one is out pushing a side lane or farming while these ganks happen. So, you know, we continue to see the lead increase for LoonyMelb.
Yeah, I think this just comes back to Raiden really haven't made any movements around the Death Prophet exorcism. Like, you have level 2 now in this ultimate. You have to make something happen with it. Every level you get in that exorcism, just the damage skyrockets. I mean, level 18, bot lane, they found Shadow.
They managed to catch another hero. Yeah, these supports, they're trying to get vision up, right? Because they have found themselves basically completely dewatered out of their own jungle by the dire supports, and they're just trying to reestablish that control, but you don't have control of that area just in terms of strength. The dire heroes, apart from Spectre, are just set up in an active perimeter, and they're just taking free kills of anyone from Adelaide Uni who steps out of line. And that's just constraining their farm so much.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Dire doing a great job with protecting their wards, making sure that Radiant are unable to get any defensive wards down across the map. And this is also coming down to the factor that like how they're farming and where they're farming. Duckfling is taking a lot more of the aggressive jungle farm, making sure that he doesn't very rarely shows in the lane like what he's doing now. But this is exactly how you need to play someone like an Axe. You're the one that's supposed to be finding these pickoffs across the map, and if you're showing in lanes, then it gives information to Radiant on where you can be farming. So Duckfling in this game has done a very good job at just kind of playing in the jungle, making sure he doesn't show his face, and then it worries the Radiant lineup on where they can be maneuvering across the map. Look how defensive they are right now. Like, they don't see him, and so Psycho Slayer's got to run all the way back behind the tier 2 mid, but he's going to have no camps to farm right now because they have no tier 1 towers. Like, I don't know how they come back from this.
Yeah, it's rough right now. They really are. I mean, granted, it's not an easy thing to do, but like you said, it's not just that the Axe is off the screen, it's that the Spectre is farming the dire side jungle, right? So they know if they want to make a move, not only are they likely doing so under an enemy ward because they have lost so much vision control, but whatever that telegraph move is, they know that an Axe could be nearby. They know that a Haunt is almost certain to come in. Yarak can arrive at a fight very quickly, and Ice Blast is almost guaranteed to hit wherever you go. So it's almost impossible for them to find an advantageous position, even if you smoke and try and get on a solo hero. Like, they can be collapsed on so quickly, and that is that fear factor. It's the power of this lineup from LoonyMelb, and it's just initiation range in general.
Yeah, and you see they've covered kind of all the bases they have as they just get another kill on Master Jeff. Duckfling, he's been a big issue for Adelaide Uni right now in this game 1. He's 9-1-2, top of the worth, and you take a look at the item build that he's gone for. He's got that Aghanim Shard into the Manta, so this is kind of that new build that we're seeing a little bit for the Axe, and I'm all for it. They are just, again, they're controlling the entire side of this map pretty much. Like, Radiant, all they have right now is their own triangle, and Wraithing's even going into a Radiance. So, like, now that your timing has gone even slower. I mean, he's pretty close to it, but finally they get a T1 top at least. That's going to give them a little bit more camps to farm.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with Unleashed. Finally, like, they do see the Dire commit. They dive past the tier 2 to kill the Jakiro, and then they take the tier 2 out. Duckflinger is going to go deep. Oh no, they found the Death Prophet. The Ice Blast committed without a second thought. TK hits the dirt again. There's absolutely no way to preserve the life of her there, and so that's another exorcism delayed by 40 seconds or so. But I mean, none of these exorcisms are being used, right? They have no way to move on an objective without being, killed essentially like that. But if you're also being ganked and killed in your safest possible jungle camp at your tier 2 tower, I feel like at some point you just need to group up and go, because you're not getting anything done. You're only falling further behind over time. You're barely able to find a tower or two. And Psycho Slayer, he understands this. He goes in, he finds the opportunity, kills off Kage, and now they're going to try and make more of this. It's a nice shackle shot, disables Duckflinger, but he is insanely tanky right now. Even having gone for the Yashra, not a fully defensive build, they've managed to maybe catch Vorquor. There's a banishment that's going to delay the teleport out, so the Spectre is theirs, but now they're rooted up by the Soulbinding and silenced as well, both together. They move in. Duckflinger, he looks low, but as the Axe, he is still resilient. He gets the kill on Unleashed. Now he's going to try and waddle out of the fight. He buys time and space for Yarak, but he goes down in the end. So they got the Spectre and the Axe. He did get the Wind Ranger kill, but I don't know if that's worth his life. He's so farmed this game. It gave a lot of net worth back to the Radiant, and now they're going to catch the Grimstroke as well. This is a massive exchange. I don't know about the exorcism from TK, but I guess at this point you're just itching to press the button, right? You got to get something going. It's almost a morale exorcism, and it looks like they will be able to move it onto the tier 1 tower. Yarak surely lets them do that rather than exposing himself to the Fury. Yeah, Psycho Slayer just kind of taps that down before the Ghost are even required. And actually, they found Yarak again. I mean, he is a Void Spirit. That's a nice Ice Path from Master Jeff. He went right back into the Ice Path, did not adjust the Dissimulate pathing, and, okay, still gets away. I mean, that's a Void Spirit for you. But Radiant showing signs of life for the first time in, like, 15 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, what a team fight. I guess Dai just going a little bit too deep there, unfortunately, giving Radiant an opportunity to come back into this game. They're playing to their strong suits. I mean, they're not bringing down the Shadow Demon early on. You see the capability of disrupting fights with the banishment. That Ice Path was a real big factor as well inside a choke point, and Radiant, they just went ham. Some great use of the AoE control, what little control they have, and in the end, a team fight able to break out in their favor. That was with the Radiance as well for the Wraith King. So he got a little bit of buff up in that timing before the team fight, and now you've got the Wraith King top of the net worth. You killed off the Duckling Axe, which would have given you a lot of gold as well. So all in all, very impressive from Radiant.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to question the Duckflinger build or the Duckflinger play, because as you said, he has been a titan in this game so far, right? And you can't win them all. That team fight was compromised by the time he committed to it, but he did get out and then go back in. And like you said, you're giving a lot of gold over. Now the Wraith King is suddenly top net worth. I almost can't believe that. You have to sort of respect the build you're going. If you are building just a Manta style, that's not a traditional axe item, and after you went triple braces in the lane to respect the damage potential of Jakiro Wraith King, to then kind of disrespect it and get yourself killed giving back a fat stack, I don't know if it's just a little bit of hubris and they're going to rein it in, but I hope they adapt from that lost fight and don't just end up giving away this lead. They still have 6,000 net worth in their favor, and the Manta is complete. So now, we talked about how they were able to pressure the lanes while remaining off the map. That is an even greater factor with these Axe Illusions running around and spinning all the creep waves down. Smoke, though, that looks like the Adelaide Uni team, they want to go for a Roche play. They've been scanned out, but this may work in their favor because they're still smoked. They did not commit. They just kind of hung around the pit quite cannily, and now they have the opportunity to perhaps catch Yarak off guard. That would be a massive way to initiate a fight. I feel like killing the Void Spirit or killing the AA before the Ice Blast are like their two best hopes. It's still a massive risk to even try.
Yeah, it is going to be difficult here. They've got everyone nearby for Radiant. But diving deep, you've got Exorcism up. Are they waiting for any big items right now? BKB on Wind Ranger.
They're all building
a little
BKB.
bit away from BKB, yeah. So like maybe you might feel not as content as taking a big team fight right now.
I mean, they smoked up here. It seemed like they kind of thought about roshing and then realized they still can't see any dire heroes and they thought better of it. But like, I mean, the Dire are also looking for a fight. We've had 8 or 9 heroes just posted up here in the top half of the map for the last couple of minutes. Ever since that Scan and Smoke both kind of missed each other, the teams weren't 100% clear on what was happening, I think. Now they've kind of scattered each other out, seen enough spells used, heroes hitting the creeps to kind of figure out that, okay, we're just kind of standing around here. And, I mean, for LoonyMelb, they do have the advantage of a Spectre, so Volkor has been happily farming an empty map in the meantime, safe in the knowledge that he can haunt in should hostilities actually break out. But, I don't know, not the worst thing again for Adelaide Uni. They still have the top net worth on their Wraith King. They're closing the gap a little bit. They got to farm some neutral camps. It's a far cry better than being stuck in their base.
Yeah, very much so. That's just a little bit of map control that they've finally been able to get. Like you were saying, they're kind of just been hauled up inside their own base here. But, that they can get some breathing room across the map, it's going to be nice here from Radiant. We do see some of these tier 3 neutral items starting to get picked up as well, so it's the Void Spirit holding the Silver Amulet at the moment. I did see him at least pick up the Mindbreaker, but he didn't opt to keep that in the inventory.
I wonder if they're going to put it, on the Axe, right? With the Blink Mindbreaker silence so that it buffs up the illusions. I mean, Spectre's holding an Orb of Destruction, so I guess that she didn't need it, or he had a tier 3 item ready. Psycho Slayer rocking that Cloak of Elven, or Elven Tunic, sorry, not a Cloak of Elven skin, which is probably the best thing you could have on the Wraith King right now. It obviously accelerates the farm speed and makes him a little bit easier for him to stand up to heavy engagement in fights. He's sort of going to become the frontline because TK has had a rough game and doesn't have that BKB ready yet. The Wraith King is sort of, I feel like, under a lot more pressure to be sturdy as well as their primary damage deal, but he's bearing the load right now, I feel like this hero is not even close to the peak of his power, and so it's going to be one of those longer games, and there's ultimately going to be a chance to out-execute in a few more team fights and come back into this.
Yeah, he's definitely not at his peak right now here for the Wraith King, but neither is the Spectre, and that is a hero who, your scary late game is the Spectre. So you definitely got to keep in mind of Volkor's farm, and he's farming really well across the map here. Of course, he's going into the Abyssal Blade, it looks like, for the next item, and it just means that Spectre can get a lot more farm as well because of how he can play away from the team. So he gets a lot more of the defensive farm, and it's so hard for you to actually find that Spectre. So we do see that he's keeping up relatively well with the farm from the Wraith King.
Yeah, Vorkor has been so disciplined the whole game. As soon as they took down that safe lane tower with the extra attention from Duckflinger's axe, the Spectre just permanently set up shop in this bottom third of the map and has been farming it basically completely alone for the entire game. Not even coming up when there was that huge sort of saber rattling show up in top lane, just secure in the knowledge that the Haunt is there. And in the meantime, you're catching up to that Wraith King farm at all times and catching up to your own late game potential. Like you said, once that Abyssal Blade comes out, it kind of completely changes the nature of this hero. Even just having the Basher now is massive. Basher plus Orb of Destruction is so much control in a team fight. You really can walk down almost any hero on the Radiant as this spec, and she's already getting very tanky. So Vorkor starting to have more influence on this game, even though we're yet to really see him shop to many fights. Yarak has completed the Aghanim Scepter, so that's a really critical piece of control for them as well. It's not the biggest game for silencers, like DP very likely to already have gotten the ult off when a fight starts. Psycho Slayer doesn't barely notice being silenced, but every little bit counts, and even the extra damage is going to pressure, especially the Wind Ranger and the supports of Adelaide. Although Unleashed finished on that BKB, so that's a really crucial pickup. Once they have these other BKBs on the Wraith King and the DP ready, I feel like that's their time to try and force Roche or take some towers. They're smoked up, they might not even wait for that.
Yeah, they're just looking to go. We'll see. Where do they want to go with the smoker? That's a question. They don't have very good vision.
I mean, last time they went nowhere. This time they look similarly hesitant, which is, again, the black map's understandable. They see Yarak cast a Remnant, so now they know, but they don't know how many heroes are here. They're going to send in Psycho Slayer first, rather than the DP, and he does find 3, but they Yules him, and now they can go. Great silence out of TK, but they can't land anything else. The Shackle Shot does not latch. Now they're kind of in there. They've committed the Exorcism, which ends up being the right call, because you might not get it off otherwise, but Yarak just dies back in. He's not worried. He has a DD rune, he has a Haunting Spectre, and he has the kill on TK already. Master Jeff getting mopped up. Duckflinger also kills Psycho Slayer. There was no ultimate. Is there a Diffusal Blade somewhere? What happened to the Reincarnate? He just melted immediately. There was so much damage in that team fight, and the supports couldn't even get close to their cause because the Duckflinger axe scouted them out immediately. Dominant stuff from LoonyMelb.
Yeah, what a team fight for them. And you see also, I think the shining point is they took that fight, the double damage for him from the Void Spirit, so much damage just bursted through the first life of the Reincarnation, bursted through the help of the Death Prophet. But this was also like Kage, a great Ice Blast, connected on probably 2 of the most important heroes that both have some sustain in the Death Prophet and the Wraith King. And you just saw them melt. And now they get that Aegis. Vorkor's got an extra life to play with. Now you've got a big swing in net worth, and we just see that one fight that Radiant had almost feels like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah, they got that one breath of air, a dying man bobbing his head above the water, and now he's way back beneath the waves. We can't even see the bubbles. 14,000 gold in favor of the Dire is the lead right now, and Spectre has completed the Abyssal. Oh, Yarak picks up a Kaya. That's a real statement item. Obviously going to build into the extension, the Sage and Kaya, but just the extra damage, right? We saw how much damage he did in that fight. Can you imagine with spell amplification? And that's, before Vorkor arrives with the Bash to add control. You really can't afford mistakes like that when you're behind. Adelaide Uni, I mean, it seemed like they were either unsure or just didn't have the willingness to consider not committing after they'd already chosen to smoke, because that scout from the Wraith King, that's like the worst possible initiation. Blinked in the middle of 3 heroes, couldn't get on any of them, immediately thrown up in the air, and Yarak, probably your best target, gets clear, and they just committed anyway. They just ran up the hill, popped the Exorcism, stood on top of the Wraith King, got obliterated by the Ice Blast. Like, that's already the fight. So I don't know if they were just already in desperation mode, but they need to find better opportunities or just call GG already.
Yeah, we just see those opportunities aren't coming through, unfortunately for them. They're just really lacking the ways to start the fights, and this is kind of the issue that we were seeing with the draft, that the Wind Ranger had to really pop off this game, but it's not had the strongest performance with the offlane Wind Ranger, and they didn't have very good first usages of the Exorcism, so it just meant they were playing from a back foot, and the only way you win with this draft now is being reactionary and just hoping Dire overcommit too far, and that's how they won that one big team fight of theirs. So they still, I do feel like the writing is still kind of on the wall for them to win a team fight, but it has to be of the mistakes of Dire, and they have to commit too far.
Yeah, the team fight that they won, it didn't seem like there was some freak mistake that could only happen once, right? Like, it was just they were able to get a jump on a key target and kill it, and then Duckflinger, used the opportunity he could have had to escape to recommit into a losing fight. That's the kind of thing that can happen more than once, but, as the enemy, extend their itemization lead, as we get BKBs up on all sides, I think it does favor the Dire, actually. There's less chance to burst heroes down and control them with things like Ice Path, whereas, the Spectre, it's really hard to have a team fight where Spectre does not, sort of reach her full potential. It's not hard to press Haunt, especially when you have an Aegis, and so I struggle to see a bright future for them, but their BKBs are all up now. Maybe they should have just waited for that the first time, and perhaps the next smoke is going to find the target they're looking for instead of being an airball like that one was.
Yeah, you're right as well. Like, it's so easy for Spectre to get full usage of his toolkit in fights, and Duckflinger's even got a... It's got a moonshot as well, so he's
holding the moonshot.
His counter helix is just going to be spinning left, right, and center. That is way too much damage, I think, for Radiant to handle. I mean, we'll see, but yeah, that's a scary, scary sight.
He is living the dream right now. He's gone full out attack speed axe. And I mean, look, he's top of the net worth by a long way over his own Spectre, over his own, Void Spirit. Neither of them are having bad games at all. And could we say that it's allowed him to die a couple of extra times? Perhaps, but certainly his team won't mind with this sort of performance. This is, like you said, a very experienced Axe player. Duckflinger called his shot at the start of the game with those braces, and I feel like as long as you committed to the laning phase hard enough to win, it's like we said in the draft, this was a laning phase winning draft from Adelaide Uni, and it feels like after they struggled with the DP against the Void Spirit, and after they couldn't dislodge the axe from the bottom lane, they really didn't have much else to go on. They tried pressuring the top, and all that happened was Vorkor moved into the empty dead lane, and after that, they're just completely out of ideas, it feels like.
Yeah, my only query with the axe build was a triple bracer. Like, everything he's gone for now, I guess you can even query about the moonshot, but it's just like you're full in on the Ag shot build. But the triple bracer was interesting, but my man is 14-2, and honestly, I can't critique it when he's having that good of a game. So I guess that's something I've got to try out myself a little bit as well to see how it really fares. But like you said, he just, regardless, he played really well with his itemization. It doesn't matter how you do it, you need to still play correctly with your itemization, and he made sure he was constantly being on the aggressive foot. And it really gave LoonyMelb a big opportunity to have this 22,000 net worth lead that they do.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen a lot of times offlaners go for, like, the Vanguard first build, right, on heroes like Axe and Centaur, where you just try and tank up even before you get your boots. But when you're against a Jakiro and even Wraith King's Wraithfire Blast, there's a lot of magical harassment in the lane, especially when you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position trying to creep skip. Perhaps this is just Duckflinger's concession to that magical damage, the possibility of, I don't know, a Death Prophet rotation or a Shadow Demon, and just saying, I'm just going to be tanky against all forms of damage, and then go into the rest of my build, and it's going to be worth it, because if you guys can't get me out of the lane early on, you're never going to kill me later, regardless of what I buy. And now, I mean, we are seeing sort of the best timeline for that build, but with BKB, Blink, Manta, Moonshard, Vanguard, and building into an Assault now, this Axe looks like he is just, not aware there's a Spectre in the game. He is one position Axe, and he is going to hard carry this for the Dire.
Yeah, well, he's at least sitting in a position net worth-wise where you'd be questioning if he was that one position or not. I mean, I guess that's looking if you don't see the Spectre on the lineup, but this can definitely be like what the Manta Axe can really... It can be a telltale of your game. If you have so much map control, like you just send Manta at one wave, a second wave mid, you clear that, you probably even got more time to farm like a couple of neutral camps. The only issue with this build is that you do take a lot of farm away from your team, so you have to be far ahead, because if you're playing from behind, then you won't really get much usage out of it, and it'll more feel like you're taking farm out of your cores pockets. But because of how much lead they have, like, he's getting a lot of farm that no one could really get unless they were super mobile. So that's just why we see his farm continue to skyrocket.
And it's also, like, you should not do this with just any other cores, right? But it's because they have a Void Spirit and a Spectre. Like, Spectre's not a Battle Fury buying carry who's going to be pushing out the lanes herself, or like a Luna or something, right? She is only farming one camp at a time. She mostly wants to take the safe farm in the jungle and be off the map, right? So this is the perfect time to play an offlaner like Axe and go this super greedy build where you're pushing the lanes in all the time because you're not really taking farm away from the Spectre. You're actually creating space for her to farm in the jungle. And similarly, the Void Spirit, yeah, he can burst down the waves of lane creeps, but how much better for Yarak to just only occasionally be showing? The Axe is constantly pushing in all waves, and Yarak and Spectre get to farm all of the jungle camps, any stray wave out too far, while remaining completely invisible to the Radiant, making it so hard for them to do anything on that map.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why the Manta Axe is pretty nice as well, because it gives you a little bit more opportunities to farm. Like you were saying, you can just push out the waves. And I was saying earlier, that's not really what an Axe wants to do, because if you show in the lane, then the enemy team has information on where you can farm, because you know the person who can kill you is in X position on the map.
Yeah.
But now you've got the Manta to shove out the lanes, which is what you really want to do. You want to suffocate them inside a small portion of the area. Gives you more information. It just can make the game of Dota so much more easier. Lanes is such an important thing, because a lot of people don't think about it. They obviously think of observer wards as vision for once, but creeps give so much vision. If you see a creep wave, you're underneath someone's T2 tower and no one's hitting it, then it's more than likely they're making a movement. So just that sole factor of having the Manta on the Axe, he can still play in the jungle, but his illusions can take a lot of the aggressive farm and really just frees up on his positionings on where he can be in the game. And I cannot see, like, you're down 28,000 gold, and this gold is just continuing to skyrocket in the favor of Dire. Like, I mean, you've got a Wind Ranger who's behind a position 4 Grimstroke, who's got a goddamn Scythe of Vice. Like, you've got a Scythe of Vice, you've got the Aghanim Shard as well. Even Kage on the Ancient Apparition, he's got Glimmer Cape, he's got Aeon Disc, he's even got the Aghanim Shard himself, so he can get a little bit of farm on the creep wave. I don't know. Like, Wraith King's keeping up in farm, but no one else is.
I don't know if they're just using this opportunity to sort of talk about the draft just like we are, and they're sort of making sure that they don't have this happen to them in Game 2. But it does feel like Adelaide Uni have to some degree given up, or they've gone completely into their shells. They're just sitting in their base, and they have been this entire time. That's why we're going into such a scholarly discussion of the draft, is because nothing is happening on the map. The Radiant have retired to their base for the day. They're just hitting creep waves as they arrive. They're farming 10% of the map. The Dire are farming 90% of the map. Vorkor is happily hitting all of the creeps. Now they're finally taking the Roshan, and this might be the signal to go, or it might not, right? Like, there's no actual pressure on them to make a move, because as you said, the lead is only rocketing upwards. They're now 32,000 gold ahead just since you last mentioned it. And, like, I'm sure that Adelaide Uni know this is happening, but they're maybe just waiting for an unforced error as the Dire try to go up high ground. This is finals Dota. No one actually has to take your high ground. Boredom, I don't think, is going to really be a factor. They're going to farm for as long as you need to, or as long as you let them, and then eventually just roll over you. So this does feel like calling GG without actually calling it. I don't know what degree they're aware of that, but Adelaide Uni are just going to make a last stand on this high ground and cross their fingers.
Yeah, it's just more like, it's a big issue with the draft. If you have to play reactionary, and you kind of, when you play reactionary, a lot of the time it means you're playing kind of not to win. You're not making aggressive plays. You're really just hoping the enemy team makes those mistakes. And
Vorkor has that shard, of course, so has the single target haunt, that spooky sound effect going off, it's just baiting them. We see Vorkor sitting on the high ground, doesn't have a heart yet, right? So, like, has everything else you really want to suspect about. They do need to go, and Duckflinger goes, doesn't wait long at all. The Ice Blast connects onto Psycho Slayer. The Wraith King at least has a second life in his back pocket, but they've already forced the BKB out of the DP. She saw that Ice Blast coming in and got pretty afraid, which rightly so, but that forces a very valuable cooldown out of them, pushes it back into the base. You won't have that BKB when you decide to press this exorcism, and you will have to press it, because Vorkor is not leaving you alone. May not have a heart, but with the Aegis on deck and how powerful, how ahead LoonyMelb are, you are not going to dislodge them without a Rax, or probably several Raxes. Darkflinger finally misses a call, maybe the first of the game. Gets a chat wheel from his team for that, but they take this bottom lane Rax with really no trouble at all, and like we said, maybe they weren't out there on the map dying, but the gold lead at this point is comical for LoonyMelb, and Adelaide Uni, they've kind of shot their shot, even though they haven't exposed themselves to any more risk in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know how they hold this. I mean, Wind Ranger might be cutting mid, but Wind Ranger's going to be underneath an observer ward, actually, so Dire should see there's a backstab coming. They're instantly going to turn to deal with Unleashed.
Poor Unleashed. It may not have even been necessary to kill the Wind Ranger there. Like, there's a second wave of creeps pushing it bottom. Actually, it's exposed the Spectre. They're gonna get the Aegis. Of course, it is just the Aegis. A whole second life and the Haunt available to Vorkor to press the issue, but are they just going to fall back and wait another Aegis? Are they really... Because this could be a lesson being taught right here. I don't know to what degree LoonyMelb indulge in that sort of thing, whether they fancy themselves as masters of the mind games, but you've won this game, or been very confident in this game from very early on, and you've just been approaching it very methodically while your opponent kind of mills about. You could give them as much time as they need to really feel bad about how this game's gone and force them to do something instead of, you know, making Dota familiar, instead of trying to force a push. And whether or not it actually affects your win chance, it's going to start to weigh on them. Okay, we do finally see a move, but that smoke breaks on Duck Flinger, so they don't find the gank they want. Okay, missed call again. This could be something. Potential shackle shot. They type the axe, but Vorkor's in deep. Finally commits the Haunt. Held at that entire push, and Yarok arrives as well. The BKBs are keeping them alive for now, but not all of them have it, and it doesn't help TK at all. WTK down as well, so that's 2 out of 5 already. The Jakira's actually died and brought back. Psycho Slayer's Reincarnate pops. Unleashed is dead. There's so much damage. This team is 43,000 gold ahead, and finally, credit to Adelaide Uni, they knew they just had to go for something and then probably call GG, so they throw themselves onto the tender mercies of LoonyMelb, and then they mercifully call this game at 45 minutes. They'll have another chance in game 2, but boy, this one did not go how they drew it up.
Yeah, I really didn't hear. It was just...
Yeah, you mentioned you didn't like the idea of a one-dimensional draft, and I feel like even with the Wraith King in the end, they really were relying on winning the lanes and being able to put the DP and the Wraith King up front and siege one tower after another. And when you didn't have a core feeling that strong, these defensive supports lose so much of their luster, right? Because you don't feel like you can walk down the lanes and pressure the objectives, and suddenly you have no way to force fights, you have no way to get value out of those spells, and you lose so much of the map once Yarok and Duckflinger get their claws into you. It really felt over very quickly. But as we said, Game 2 is coming up, so stay tuned to this stream. After a short break, we will see if Adelaide Uni can bounce back and hold their own here in the AEL Uni League Finals. Hello Dota fans, welcome back to the AEL Uni League Finals. Here we're watching Adelaide Uni fight for their very lives. They are now just one game away, the thinnest of margins between them and elimination after a season of relative success, but they have met their match, it seems, at least in game one, at the hands of LoonyMelb, a tight squad. They are looking very, very keen to close this out in 2 games, and gee, Aries, I don't even know, what does the draft need to look like for Adelaide Uni to stop that?
That they kind of brought onto themselves in that game one, but in regards to the draft, I think they just need some heroes that are able to make plays. I think full ranged heroes can make it very difficult for who's actually able to start fights, and I think we saw that was kind of one of the bigger issues through that game one, is that they didn't really have any ways to really make plays happen across the map. It was more of a very reactionary lineup that they had, and unfortunately kind of cost them in the end, where they had some average usages in the exorcism, and then kind of cost them with their momentum heading to that game one. But the Tusk can definitely switch it up.
Yeah, that is a real change in philosophy, right, from their original supports. You do have the save capacity, especially once you buy a Blink with the Snowball, but in game one we saw the only team fight they're able to win was when, you know, LoonyMelb kind of full committed and dived into them, and that's when the Jakiro and the Shadow Demon, you know, got to really shine, and when we see the Exorcism committed against a team that's actually around to get hit by it. But like you said, against a team with the kind of Dota smarts and just clean play of LoonyMelb, you can't rely on them just blundering into the type of fight you want. They were very happy to completely play a slower pace around their Spectre, just black out the enemy map and let it be Adelaide's responsibility to force fights, which, as you said, they just did not give themselves the tools to do. But now with the Tusk, they've got something a bit more flexible. Not only can you play defensive, but you're going to be able to force those kills when you need them to, and that might create a more even match. Although Bristleback, this has not been a hero I've seen in a lot of even matches. This patch feels absolutely bonkers right now, and they follow that up with the apparition that KGS played to such effect in game one.
Yeah, he really did hear from the Ancient Apparition. I think that definitely was enabled though, because you had people like the Void Spirit, people also like the Axe as well to really enable the Ice Balls. But I like the pick. So I believe it was kind of a block pick here with the Ancient Apparition. They probably favor it a little bit considering they picked it up last game, but because they had the Bristleback, they're probably worried that Adelaide Uni were going to counter that with the Ancient Apparition, so they protect it. It does leave, though, that Adelaide Uni had the 8th pick overall, so they just go into the Viper, which is one of the few break mechanics available at the moment, and that's going to be a great way to deal with the Bristleback.
Yeah, exactly. As well as, like, okay, it may not be multi-dimensional in how it approaches the game as a whole, but in terms of securing your lane, this might be an even safer pickup than what they went for in game one. They really hurt a lot with not being able to win their lanes, especially the mid, and how that kind of collapsed across the map for them as the laning phase progressed. So with Tusk and Viper, they set themselves up again with a chance to actually take the lead early on, and maybe from in front we see a different Adelaide Uni, right? They never really got a chance in that game one to play at their pace, and you know, I hope they do here. It'd be a disappointing exit without it.
Yeah, definitely. We would want to see them kind of bring back the momentum in their second game, even though it's all of LoonyMelb that have the momentum heading into it at the moment here. But I'm trying to see what LoonyMelb can do to really protect the Bristleback now, because you're going to need, like, I wonder if a Snapfire has some capability. The only reason why I say that is just kind of one of the few heroes that have a position-based mobility in your toolkit to kind of help the Bristleback get out of it than they're the Toxin, which I think is the big factor on how they kill him. Like, if Adelaide Uni don't have any stuns, then it's really easy for the Bristol to get out of that break, but that's the one thing that Radiant have to identify and deal with in their draft.
Yeah, maybe if they don't go for something like the Cookie, they at least have to have save so that they can unstun the Bristleback and just get him moving again. I know Legion Command has been very popular of late, especially in these sort of 4 protect 1 or 4 buff 1 compositions people go for, but they don't need to fully commit to the Bristleback, and I would like them to avoid the pitfall we saw Adelaide stumble all the way into with their game 1 draft. Don't just have this Bristleback hero who's sort of like a Death Prophet, where you just kind of have to walk down lanes at towers and you have no other way to control the pace of the game, right? They do need that Duck Flinger Axe hero or a Yarak Void Spirit to complement that with catch, so that they're able to sort of be a bit more flexible in how they play. And I'm confident they will, right? Like, not only are those the heroes that those core players are comfortable on, but in Game 1 we saw they understood how to balance their draft around that.
Yeah, they did a very good job with identifying how you could balance the draft, and I really showed they're a treat to watch right now. And I unfortunately we have to say goodbye to one of these teams. Something that we don't want to do, considering we've been able to follow them through all of the season so far. But Adelaide, they need to step it up in this second game. Against a Pudger. Let's see.
Okay, the Pudge out of LoonyMelb. Now, in the past, in other patches, I would have said, oh, okay, they dominated Game 1, now they're kind of feeling themselves a little, maybe even in the back of their mind, giving a little bit of a chance, a challenge to Adelaide Uni, like, well, can you beat our Pudge pick, or are you going to get styled on? But, I don't know, Pudge has kind of come into his own, especially as a 3 and 4 position on this patch, and it's whenever the hero gets some sort of capability beyond the hook-eat combo, that's when we see it thrive. And this new shard, the ability to save a teammate instantly out of any spell, any Viper poison, from an absurdly long range, really makes the hero valuable.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm really intrigued to see how much more Pudge we start to see, because the Aghanim shard, I have a lot of value on any support that can have a saving mechanism. I think it really just disrupts a lot of late game Dota and even mid game Dota as well. So Pudge is able to have a relatively strong game, so he can hit a decent timing. Maybe some items with that shard is going to be really nice here, but they do kind of need a setup for the hook. It's always nice to not have to rely on your soul skills and just having a stun to make it easier.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that'll be the Yarok hero or the Duck Flinger hero setting that up, just like in the previous game where they, were able to set up that Ice Blast. You're starting to see a real hole in the draft. That's where the peg is going to go. But, I mean, I don't think it's likely to happen. I wouldn't mind seeing this actually be the Duck Flinger hero, right? We can see that he has that skill to play aggressively where needed, and manage his limits as that kind of hero. And I feel like with the new Aghanims that Pudge has, that's kind of been unexplored. Very powerful in the right circumstances, especially when you come out of your lane ahead. Yeah,
very much so. We're going to go into a less shit. Okay, so 2 heroes that are able to come online very, very early on.
It's likely to be Yarok's mid hero, right? We're going to have the Leshrac running around buying a Yules to set up not only his stun, but the Ice Blast and the Pudge hook.
Yeah. It's how do I feel about that? Because you're gonna be able to get very active early on, and it does give you some way to take towers too.
It fits that Yarok profile that we're seeing, yeah. Like, even the Void Spirit doesn't have the tower taking capability as much, but that mobile, fast farming, lane winning, and then getting active on the map really, seems to be what the team expects from his hero.
The Medusa, though, that is, I cannot wait till this hero starts to get nerfed. Like, I just see the Medusa way too often.
You're sick of it. Had enough of snakes. Especially this Ags build. Like, it doesn't even seem to have as much of a weakness as it used to. Teams figured they knew how to play around a Medusa. We'll just take team fights against it early on. She doesn't have that much damage, so you can ignore her. But now it's not even just the Stone Gaze. With the spam of the stunning or stoning Mystic Snake from the early Aghanim Scepter, she is so annoying to fight against, from her first item, essentially. So really has brought the hero all the way back into the meta. She's going to have tons of farm priority here, Viper and Slider and Tusk making space. And yeah, that's an interesting challenge to throw against a team who looks like they're going to be really aggressive, because I could see this collapsing for Adelaide Uni just like it did the previous game, and then Medusa kind of being like the Death Prophet where you can't go anywhere on the map because you're this slow, easy target for Ice Blast and Pudge. But similarly, if Adelaide Uni, they do better in the lanes, then she is going to be rock solid as the core of their team for Radiant to try and initiate onto.
Yeah, it's just, are you able to get that initiation? Like,
they are lacking a bit of initiation on LoonyMelb right now. Like, Hook's not really reliable. Yarok, Yules into Split of Earth is more for initiating ganks than full team fights, but it seems like they're maybe waiting on their carry. I guess this could be a safe lane Bristleback or a mid Bristle, and we're waiting on Duckflinger's hero in the end. Adelaide Uni are banning carries, so they're convinced it's offlane Bristle, perhaps, or offlane Pudge.
But you've got that flexibility. You can even put the Bristle back as a 1. You just you can't lane the Bristle versus the Viper. That's the big thing. I'm trying to remember how much armored Bristleback has as well versus Slaughter. You could think of going something like a Terrorblade, or if you really want to go something like a Sniper or Arc Warden. I don't think... So we were speaking about timings last game, and that Adelaide Uni kind of, if they were going to go win condition or if they were just going to go full on try and end the game early with the tower push. This game, at least they have a win condition, and you take a look at LoonyMelb's lineup, like they have to kind of end early. You can't go late game versus Medusa. So are you going to try and counteract that with your counter to the Medusa, which is your Sniper Arc Warden? Or are you going to try and just run rampant in this game? And
I like this.
I really think you go Sniper Arc Warden.
Okay, they go for Clinks. Whoa. Alright. So it looks like it is going to be, Bogged Finance and the Pudge, offlane Bristle, mid Leshrac and safe lane Clinks, which is... I mean, we talked about the problems with one-dimensional drafts. Obviously, you balance around, or you draft around just making sure you play the game the way that you drafted to play it, but you don't get to control everything in Dota, and this is looking a little bit like the Game 1 Adelaide Uni draft to me, where if they don't have a great start, particularly in the Pudge Bristleback lane, or if the Pudge, Bogged Finance, we've seen him play it well before, but if you can't help Yarak get some early kills and get the Pudge ball rolling, make the enemy scared of the black map, they don't have nearly as much potential to catch heroes out as they did before, and they're going to be the ones sort of forced to try and walk at towers into, some pretty fearsome tower defense, right? Not only in the creep clear and area denial of Viper and Coddle, but some good counter initiation, Blink Slider with a Medusa Stone Gaze backing it up. That's one way you can really initiate onto a team sitting outside of tier 1.
Yeah, definitely. It's, I think, a much better draft that Adelaide Uni have. We're either going to see the kind of synergy with the Keeper of the Light and the Medusa as well. They are just, I mean, this is a filthy draft. They're all in, it looks like, kind of on the Medusa being this big win condition. You got to wait to refill the mana, even got to wait to refresh the Mystic Snake as well. My kind of issues with Dire is that I think this, again, it's all on kind of Slaughter starting fights, and if Slaughter kind of has a bad game where, I mean, there was a different hero for Unleashed on the Wind Ranger in game 1, but, it's... What's he laning? So it's going to be more Clinks and Ancient Apparition, Slaughter, Tusk. That's a really strong lane. So if Kage gets caught out, even if the Clinks gets caught out as well, you really got to be careful on how you play those lanes. So I mean, can you bet against the Medusa though? Like, this hero is goddamn bonkers.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I was going to touch on, right? Is we talked about not just the hero assignments, but like the players on each team. Psycho Slayer, when you look at the net worth graph in that last game, for all that they were beaten down from the laning phase, kept up admirably well on the Wraith King. The other calls on the team, not nearly as well. Didn't have close to as much impact, fell quickly behind on farm. So building a draft which is all about Psycho Slayer's farm and everyone else is like 4 Protect 1ing does seem like it might suit Adelaide Uni a little better. Obviously, you can't just compare one game to the other, but I like that they've changed their direction a little bit and given a more conventional and aggressive offlaner to Unleashed, for instance.
Yeah, we'll get to see.
Duckflinger has 3 gauntlets again. He's going to do it. He's going to build 3 braces on Bristleback. This is wild.
I pray he doesn't.
He might not.
No, he's gonna go Soul Ring Bracer.
Okay. So much
Soul Ring needs a double. Triple brace. So they actually want to lane the Slaughter verse. Okay, well, again, I mean, Slaughter versus any range hero is not the greatest because you're really strong in melee matchups because of the bash mechanic. Bristle's got he doesn't have too much armor, so we'll probably have to see. You'll get a little bit in Soul Ring, a little bit in Bracer as well. I still think this is not going to be an easy lane for Unleashed.
Yeah, I mean, any melee hero against Bristleback, you're going to take so much harassment, and we know that Duckflinger excels at this kind of hero, right? He's going to, like I said, toy with his limits, really get maximum usage out of that and regen back up, and you can't really all-in the Bristle to try and stop that pain train, because you know there's the potential for Pudge to just pull you way out of position and extremely punish you. But Tusk is pretty good, at least on the other end, of forcing those engagements, so especially once he gets level 2, we see WDK pulling now to try and maximize the speed that they get their spells up. I feel like at least they can kill Duckflinger with the snowball into shards and tag team.
Once they get levels, more than likely. But I feel like Duckflinger is... he's gonna get a lot of stats. I don't know if they actually kill him, honestly.
Bogged is just AFK in the trees, and he's hooking every ranged creep out of every wave into the trees to deny the ranged creeps.
I hate nerds.
To the slaughter lane. This is the sweatiest gamer strategy I've ever seen in my life. Bogged Flandhands, be ashamed of yourself. But he's not going to get any levels, and Pudge is such a level-dependent support. Like, this is not the, creating extra resources for your team the way stacking would be, right? Like, he's just sacrificing his own experience to deny a bit of XP to Unleashed. Like, okay, it's the enemy safe laner, but it's a safe lane Slaughter. They've got Psycho Slayer in the off lane against the Vorkor Clink, so it's not even the Medusa who's suffering from this. I don't know, maybe you gotta go pull the range creeps out of the other lane. Interesting stuff.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh, Yarok! Oh! Leshrac, a little bit too quick on those 4 legs. Shuffles back out of the range of ice shards, and so it is not a kill in the mid lane to open the game. That would have been massive for Uni, but, I mean, that's one more impact, right, of Bogged Finance not actually doing normal laning. Is last game it was LoonyMelb who got to freely move their supports around in mid lane, and this time we are not seeing that. It's the Tusk, who's now roaming all the way bottom, but the level 1 Pudge smoked on his tail. Maybe looking for a hook mid. Oh no. TK manages to accidentally avoid the hook and thus death, so Bogged Finance, these gambles not paying off.
No, they're really not paying off. They're
pinging the creeps.
I don't know.
They're like, no, I was doing something. They're like, why are you level 1, bro?
I mean, Slaughter's still doing well versus Bristleback. Their level comparison is Bristle's about a level ahead, so we'll see what the difference is going to entail for that lane. But I don't really know what the Pudge is going to help out with in this game.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure it's all just about the shard, right? And they're just like, do whatever you like in the early game. Yeah, fine, whatever. Hook the range creeps out. But, yeah, look at this, right? The Duckflinger, for being all a level ahead, it's all starting to even out now that they get up more levels and sort of the XP involved in the level gap is wider. And I don't know if they were just expecting this to be the Medusa lane or not, but it really doesn't seem that impactful when it's a solo lane, Slaughter versus Bristle, to deny a couple of early range creeps, right? This is really not having a game impact. This might, though. Bogged Finance wanders in the lane, still has no rot, though, still just has a hook, and again, this is not the lane to gank, right? You're up against an extremely mobile Slaughter with Slithering Crush to break the combo, and Duckflinger can't do any burst damage or offer much control. He doesn't even have points in Snot. Now Bogged Finance, he's going to give them a kill, it looks like, over on the Pudge, throws out that pitiful hook damage. WDK busts way more damage than that, just popping the tag team, and Unleashed with the bash into the crush. Duckflinger now exposed. These heroes do have to respect Duckflinger, though. Level 3 Quills is working through the hit point pool of both strength cores very quickly, but he has, again, no points in the Snot, no way to control them, and they're just going to slide away. This Pudge pick looking a bit like a grief on his team right now from Bogged Finance. I do trust him as a player, but he has a long road to walk to get back in this game and justify it to me on commentary.
Oh, it's hurting me. He just used another smoke as well. He used 2 smokes and got nothing out of it. So.
He refilled Yarak's bottle. That's the most impactful thing he's done all game.
Yep, you're right. That is 100% the most impactful thing he's done in the game. I don't know why he had to smoke for it. But your Bristle's potentially about to die top, and you're
Duckflinger. Okay, he does hit the hook. So as the Bristle dies, he's going for the Viper. He gets Viper struck, but okay, that is a kill, and that is a big, big kill because it gives him a point in rot. He's somewhat back in the game, but yeah, I mean, you just paid in Duckflinger's life for that, so even your wins are not really big dubs. This is a lowercase W if I ever saw one.
Yeah, that it is, and I mean, you've got the Bristleback, who unfortunately had to sacrifice his life, but We do take a look at the comparison in the farm though. Like Leshrac is getting so much out of mid. 43 last hits compared to the 28 on the Viper. Down bot as well, Psycho Slayer is not doing too well in the CS regard, so at least the other lanes are going well.
Yeah, I can't say it was really in any way due to this Pudge pick, as we see Bog Finance looking for a kill on Unleash at top, but it's just being outlaned in general. Master Jeff on this Coddle, not as able to do as much in this off lane, really just a mana battery for Psycho Slayer, and Kage has done a great job, as we've watched, of contesting this hard lane pull camp. And WDK now has had enough of his shenanigans. He rolls in on the Tusk, misses the Ice Shards point blank on KGS, but there's just enough damage. The tag team is such a strong spell that it doesn't matter. Doesn't even need the snowball. So that's an important kill to get. And now that they've dewatered this pull camp, there is some potential at least for them to control the equilibrium and get a bit more gold for Psycho Slayer. But Bog Finance, he's starting to get the levels up. Now he has the Rot, but Unleashed again, he's not the target. He even jukes the hook. So this is no kills on top lane. Bog, you got to get to bottom lane, man. That's where the action is right now. At least, as you said, Yarak is dominating the mid lane again, pretty much just outlaning this Viper and maximizing farm as only Leshrac can, but, you know, maybe he needs to be the one starting to rotate because, yeah, the Pudge is not cutting it as the hero moving around the map.
Yeah, maybe he's going to have more impact as the game goes on with the Aghanim Shard, but you know, all in all, though, like, Leshrac is absolutely loving life mid, is having a really good time. I like the way the Leshrac is also skill build too. Like, you're never going to be able to get on top of a Viper, so there's no point maxing out the Diabolic Edict. Like, if you're against a melee matchup, maybe then you'll think about getting that Edict higher levels, but the Lightning Storm is just going to enable you to shove out the lane, go back, you know, flash farm the jungle, you know, maybe put one too many in Lightning Storm, because the thing is...
Oh, Duckflinger at top lane. He's taking a risk here. I mean, Bristleback, you're never quite sure when it's going to be the Bristleback turn and burn, but that time he is the one who gets scorched. The minus armor from Slider, like you said, Bristleback's not a high armor hero. He relies on the Bristleback itself to try and shore up his resilience. His actual hit point pool is low as well, relatively. That's why he's tried to build a lot of strength, but up against Unleashed Slider at this point in the game, it's just a little bit too much. Vorkor also looking kind of weak. Is this the setup? WDK's got a haste. They're hunting Adelaide Uni. They're starting to feel their oats in this game. They understand they've got a much better thing going. And, okay, they actually find Kage instead. So Vorkor, the Skeleton Walk has preserved him against this gank, but his Apparition is going to potentially pay with his life. Bog Finance, though, he rotates in. This is a great time for him. He actually has the impact here. He senses that they've already got the kill on WDK, and he hooks in Master Jeff. So the Tusk actually escapes from that one, but they do get a support kill. They pull in the Coddle, chop him up, and Vorkor, you know, just playing it wise, playing it safe, pops out to get the kill, and he will continue his farm. As you said, they're still farming well on their mid and safe laners, so it's not really panic stations for LoonyMelb. It's just been a little bit of a less impressive machine-like early game for them. Yeah,
like you said, just the early game hasn't been as impressive, and that's where, you know, we're kind of seeing Dire, you know, take over a little bit here. At least in the regards, it's a much stronger performance in this game 2 early game than what it was in game 1. Then they got some sacks in the jungle. This is still just going to be on, can they make space here for the Medusa to flash farm? Like, that is the big question here as we head to the lane starting.
TK under pressure. He can't juke it. He tried to walk out of the hook, but he did not walk far enough. He ended up just getting hooked anyway. Although Bog Finance, he ends up being the first casualty of that fight. Still relatively low level on the Pudge. Has no points in Flesh Heap as a result. And he just melts to the Viper damage before they can even finish that kill. But they do get it. So a mid laner for a support is a good trade. But they're not getting the tier 1 out of this. Like you said, that Yarak adapted the skill build, decided that, okay, it's unlikely I get this Viper out of lane early. I'm not going to get the chance to edict the tower. I'm definitely not edicting him, so I put in early points. But they do have to start to skill it up now because they need to free up this Leshrac to start the rotations. Like you said, they need to be able to take some map space away from Psycho Slayer's Medusa, who, you know, is still just chilling in this bottom lane as Clinks starts to get active. Vorkor, moving out on the map, has just the medallion ready. They're going to take this tier 1 tower again. They recognize the importance of it as an objective. And actually, no, this time, they do bring out the Medusa, so we're going to have an early 5v5. Duckflinger, he's found the Medusa stacks. That's why she's come up. You don't mess with the bread and butter, baby. Duckflinger learns that lesson at a heavy cost. He dies to Unleashed again, plus the whole team. Okay, Bog Finance finds a good hook. We know he has the eyes for it, but he's still under-leveled on this Pudge, only just getting his level 6. Actually, he is 2 levels higher than Master Jeff on the Cuddle. That's a bit of a sad sight, but they're going to get some more XP for that Cuddle right now as Bog Finance has nowhere to go. He's finished off way in the back lines, and meanwhile, Psycho Slayer made sure to polish off those jungle stacks before they were under any further threat. But really nice play by Adelaide Uni to actually rotate up immediately and punish the Bristleback there. They are not giving up those stacks. They are not just letting LoonyMelb take what they want. And Psycho Slayer's looking strong as a result.
Yeah, it's just a solid maneuver from them, showing the emphasis that you have to put on controlling up your own jungle, especially when you have stacks. That's kind of your, instead of getting objectives on the map, which we naturally think of like towers or Roshan, you know, an objective can still be controlling your jungle and actually taking stacks, and that's exactly what the Medusa needed to get a little bit of catch up out of the lane. And you know,
Duckflinger, he's going to show Master Jeff. Okay, Master Jeff, good time to hit the teleport button, but maybe a little bit late. Oh, that was perilously close to death, and we can see the power this made Bristleback such a strong pick this patch, but it doesn't work out. And meanwhile on top lane, Kage has no opportunity to TP away from that, so he dies, gives the kill over to Psycho Slayer of all people, not the one you want to see claiming any bounty, even that of a support. And, you know, you have to respect the Bristleback, but so far, whether it's because of the sort of, we'll say, lacking support from the Pudge pick, but Dockflinger's Bristle hasn't quite exerted his influence in the game yet. This is coming into his time, though. It's going to be really interesting to see what he can do once he picks up this Eternal Shroud. It's such a huge item on the hero.
Oh, yeah, very much so. That Eternal Shroud is just going to give you so much extra survivability, as that's something the Bristleback always thrives on. You just need to itemize so you can keep yourself alive.
They've slowed Duckflinger down. He was thinking he'd pressure the tower, because what's Master Jeff going to do about it? Well, Master Jeff is going to call on his friends and unleash in WDK. They arrive, the Bash Brothers, and they shut down this Bristle. He dies so fast at that. The minus armor and the tag team physical damage, he does not look like a Bristleback when they get those abilities in play on him.
Yeah, maybe this is just... Yeah, he should not be playing that far up down bot. Like, that T1 tower is so hard to claim, as they might get the kill on Psycho Slayer.
Oh, Bog Finance, that was a bit of a messy hook. You can't pick Pudge in a comp match and do that. Luckily, Yarak has the Yule Scepter, so that's a harder disable to miss. They get the stun out of it, but now that's bought time for the die to rotate up, and TK, he had a really rough game one. He won some revenge on Yarak after that laning phase as well. Beautiful shot from WDK that time, and Bog Finance, okay, he does hit that hook. He pulls his Leshrac to safety from a guaranteed death. The Tusk will go hungry tonight, and that was essential, because that would not have been a great trade. You know, kill Medusa all you like, but, you know, they haven't been shutting down Psycho Slayer successfully, so at least for this first death or two, it's critical that they take a clean trade, because, you know, if you start to lose kills on this Leshrac as well, I feel like Yarak is the one who suffers more almost from being behind, right? This hero can't be on the front lines pushing towers and applying spell damage if it can't build up its items and stay at a tanky level. As Duckflinger, he's tanky right now, but here comes the Tusk and the Slaughter. They are his nemesis right now, but the Ice Blast is there. And yeah, ultimately Adelaide Uni, they kind of realized that fight wasn't clean enough to commit to, and they avoid taking the bad trade, learning from game one. I like it.
I still... Like, yes, the Bristleback didn't die there, but I still don't know why he's bot. Like, I think you group up with your Leshrac and take that T1 town mid, because you're so much stronger than Dire right now, and what are you doing playing around bot? Like, you're wasting a lot of the early game prowess that the Bristleback often holds, and you just need to be getting these early towers, because if you're not, it means you're not infiltrating the triangle camp, where we see once again Psycho Slayers taking another stack.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's because they're trying to take that bottom tower with the Bristle so that they can threaten the control of the triangle, which is where Psycho Slayer's farm's mostly coming from, or whether he's trying to make space for the Clink's top, right? Like, Vorkwar, he's the one who's taken down that safe lane tier 1, he's the one using that space, just like he did on the Spectre in game 1, and maybe their idea is that by having the Bristleback so obviously dangling as a target down bottom, that's going to minimize the chance that Vorkwar just eats a gank. But, yeah, the Bristle in particular is paying a heavy price for that.
Yeah, very much so, and is that something you want? Like, I don't know if they're happy with the Bristleback taking as much of a hit as what he is. I mean, he's still top of the net worth. Like, he's died 4 times, but he's still got an immense amount of farm.
Yeah.
Do you have to be careful of, like, but what is he getting out of being top of the net worth? Yes, he's dragging a lot of heroes down bot, but I feel like like, the way Dire win this game is with a farm Medusa, because you've got Coddle to enable you, you've got Slaughter that's also going to enable you with the Corrosive Haze, so
Duckflinger's in trouble again. I mean, he's throwing himself at the creeps, right? That's how he's staying top of the net worth, but what he's doing with that net worth is handing it over just paycheck after paycheck to the Dire. Unleashes on a mega kill streak. I think all of those might be on Bristleback. Like, they're just targeting him again and again because they know they have the kill combination that works, and Duckflinger, I'm sure it's a team decision to send him there, but they are letting them play that reel over and over. It's just the same kill every time. And Psycho Slayer, he's not being ganked while this happens. He's farming under his tier 1 mid, has now completed the Manta style, keying up that Skadi next. And, I mean, it's really what Vorkor is doing with the space, but this is only going to be sort of a normal Desolator timing, I feel like, and even with Deso plus Medallion, I don't know if that changes how you have to kill the Medusa, right? It's still going to be up to Bogged Finance and Yarak to disable her long enough for the damage to add up.
Yeah, I feel like I want to keep harping on the positioning of the Bristle, but I don't want to as well at the same time.
Well, now he's up with his team, at least.
Yeah, but... Yeah, I mean, you're right. At least he's up with the team now. They're going to try and take that T2 tower top, but you just... It's way too late. Like, I have a 3,000 net worth lead now.
Oh, they're teleporting in. They want to fight this. But the Medusa, she's not there. That you're moving him, Psycho Slayer, to the wrong side of the fight. At least you sent poor Master Jeff up the hill first to tank that gank. I saw that happening to the Medusa and it would have gone bad. But Vorkor, how do you get caught out in the clinks on the other side of the fight? There's a Dire Sentry at the top of the cliff and he just walked into it. His team weren't there. They were killing a Coddle. That's a disaster. And now Duckflinger's in trouble. Kargas is already dead. Psycho Slayer moves in now deep and they kill off that Bristle just as easily as they have the last 6 times. Wicked sick on Unleashed Slaughter. What a contrast from game 1 with the Wind Ranger. I mean, I said I liked him on a more aggressive hero, but this has been a revelation. The combination with WDK on the Tusk, Unleashed on the Slaughter, they are really punishing all of this sloppy positioning, all of these over-aggressive movements from LoonyMelb, and now we are seeing that pay off, right? It's been a bit of a delayed reaction because Medusa's not the hero that kind of accelerates into dominating the map, but you have her comfortably in the top 3 net worth, and the 2 heroes ahead of her are your other 2 cores from Adelaide Uni. Their position is dominant right now.
That it is, and they're going to look to walk into Roshan as well. I mean, finally, they take the tier 1 mid. They're going to be careful. This
Ice Blast. Yarak is looking for it. He's hungry. Big playtime from the Leshrac. But how much damage can he do? Even with the Ice Blast, he has no help. Vorkor. Okay, after that last death, Vorkor at least respects the idea of sentries, but it means he's not in there. Okay, Psycho Slayer, he's burning down, but the Ice Blast has expired. He gets a mana up from the Coddler. He does not die. They managed to smuggle this Medusa out of there with the Aegis right now. They are losing other heroes for it, though. Maybe they're happy to give their whole team up for this Aegis, and that is what the trade is going to be. Yarak ends up with the triple kill. He is riding the ship right now for LoonyMelb. Really clean play there. They waited for the Ice Blast. They knew what their chances were. They don't get their Clinks killed a second time. And Vorkor and Yarak, they hold it down. That's a big gold swing. Not the entire gold lead, but after that tier 1, we're probably at an even game. At least on net worth. But in return, Psycho Slayer preserves the Aegis. I believe, unless we've changed which item we have queued up, maybe that means there's a finished Skadi somewhere. Probably not given the net worth chart, but yeah, Psycho Slayer is in a good position to transition into this Aghanim Scepter, and then the team fights are going to be a lot harder, as we discussed in the draft.
Yeah, and I just like that they're at least going for that team fight. Like, that was a great Ice Blast on 3. You got the Lesh that can just run in aggressively. Almost Shiva's completed, and you have, for Radiant though, you have to itemize armor this game. Tag Team amplifies physical. Corrosive Haze, already 15 minus armor, apologies, at level 2. Medusa's going to be doing a lot of right-click damage. Like, you have to go bonus armor. And, I mean, that's not even to mention that Stone Gaze gives you bonus physical damage. Like, this is just, I do not know why they're not going extra armor. Like, you know, we're speaking about the Internal Shroud. It's great for Bristleback, but he's got 9 armor. That's not enough at all.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great item on the hero in general, right? Because there's almost always some magic damage to resist, but this game, we're really pushing the definition of some magic damage. It's basically just Viper, Mystic Snake, and, like, the Coddle Illuminate that's even going to proc the Eternal Shroud. So, if there was ever a time, like, we saw that Axe build in game 1, very specialized build from Duckflinger. This one seems like it may be not considering the game. Vorkor, I mean, I'm not going to really flame Vorkor's play overall. There's been only a few deaths like that, but that one hurts. Gets caught out, great dust usage, and immediate death. That's your Clinks, that's your carry who was farming up while Duckflinger was taking his lumps in the bottom lane. And ultimately, you're not a Spectre, you're not tanky, and especially against this physical damage, your team does not have time to come and save you.
No, unfortunately, just the saving grace unable to be there fast enough, but another jump?
Wow, yeah, Unleashed is really keen this game, really feels the difference and wants to prove himself after, yeah, like you said, a lackluster game 1, but they realize Yarak is a little bit of a tough cookie right now. He has armor. He is going plate mail into Shiva's guard, so they answer the call. Pudge queuing up a Lotus Orb. We can see them slowly moving to react, but it'll take a little while to finish these items, and in the meantime, Psycho Slayer looking to use the Aegis, but they're not interested in Psycho Slayer. They want the support. They hook the coddle. Master Jeff surely dead to rights, getting his spells before he does, and Yarak, he's in a bit of trouble. Great, they catch him unleashed with the bash, finishes him off. The Ice Blast may be punishing though. Everyone's slow. They pop the pipe to try and stay alive, making sure they don't shatter. They have to watch out about the Bristleback though. Running uphill, Unleashed doesn't realize maybe how low he was and dies immediately to the physical damage output. The rest of his team take this hint, and they are going to beat a retreat. So 2-for-1 trade. Great hook by Bog Finance, making sure that it's very hard for things to end up in Adelaide Uni's favor, but ultimately not the biggest win for either side. This hook on the... Oh! That was a hungry hook, very well timed as the range creep moved out of the way, but Psycho Slayer just had enough room to squirm away on this Medusa and preserve that farm, which is, you know, not really overtaking everyone else, but at least keeping up, hanging in there.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Medusa hasn't taken over in farm, considering all the emphasis that Psycho Slayer's been getting this game. They made a lot of stacks, the jungle, especially the Ancients as well, but you gotta mention that the slaughter performance this game has been so on point. 9, 2, and 3 from Unleashed. You know, didn't have the strongest game one of the Wind Ranger, but I don't think that was really his fault at all.
No.
Well, he's really bringing the boys into form in this second game, and it's just continuing to highlight all the physical damage that they're able to output right now, and it's really showing the misitemization that Radiant have gone for here. It's kind of costing them pretty big.
Yeah, and that, like, the BKB purchase on Unleashed there worked out great in that fight, right? This is an opportunity where you are very strong, and you could have maybe delayed that item, but having it there, that gets you the kill on Yarak's Leshrac, which is massive, and really made sure that team fight didn't go worse for them, ended up kind of even in the end. And top of net worth on Slaughter is nothing to snort at. You can hang it, you know, this is a game without any truly farming carries. There's every potential that this Slaughter stays near the top of the net worth for the entire game, and that's a really powerful late game hero with the way that Bash works nowadays, with the kind of, you know, the Ag Scepter builds you can go. I'm excited to see it mature as we see a fight actually finally start on the Radiant's terms, but there's immediate reaction. Maybe this wasn't what they wanted. Volkor is dead already. The damage this Slaughter is outputting, the physical damage, the tag team, the split shot, it is all too much for Volkor and Yarak. Only the Bristleback survives, his passive keeping him in there, and they bring down Psycho Slayer with the quills, but that's all they get. This time it's 4-for-1 back the other way. It's 5-for-1. WDK finds Kage spectating the fight a little bit, and the Ice Cream Cone melts again. The physical damage is too much. There's even a medallion on that tusk to amplify it even more. And yeah, I mean, I thought for a moment there that was going to go all right, but it's just like we said in the draft. It's kind of reached a point with this Ag Scepter on the Medusa that even when you find her to start the fight, her damage output is too strong. Her survivability is too good with that stoning Mystic Snake, and the whole team immediately collapses and crushes LoonyMelb.
Honestly, that should have been a full team wipe without losing anyone. I mean, Medusa didn't have mana shield toggled. She still had all her mana. So a bit of a misplay there for the Medusa, but it's not going to cost them. They still team wipe Radiant. And yeah, we're just seeing they are really starting to out-execute these fights, and it's going to get even scarier as the game goes on.
Yeah, TK's Viper hasn't had a massive impact on a lot of these fights, but that tends to be because the Viper is the one who's getting isolated and trapped in the damage of the LoonyMelb team. But in that fight, when you weren't the focus, suddenly TK's the one popping off and just finishes a Hurricane Pike. So now you have that positioning item that's going to keep you safe, push the Leshrac away, prevent you from dying to that early on, and maybe even save other heroes from it, or save them from the Pudge, save your Medusa there. I'm liking this draft, right? Like, it's not as though every hero is firing on all cylinders. Like you said, the Medusa farm could be better. I'm not going to debate whether that's, you know, farming patterns from Psycho Slayer or whether it's because the team is off ganking Bristleback instead of defending you. But mostly they're just not giving up any really bad kills. This Clinks, this Leshrac, they have not found the ganks I expected, and it feels like that's what's missing in the LoonyMelb draft right now. These heroes haven't been able to feast on ganks the way that they'd expect to.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I don't know how they get ganks, honestly, because it's just the Pudge. You don't really have anyone to make pickoffs across the map. AA can't make plays. Bristleback needs to be like a Vortex hero that drags everyone to you. Again, it's very similar to Game 1 and Game 2. Like, the Game 1 that we saw from Adelaide, They made a lot of early game mistakes, which meant they couldn't play the lineup they were looking for. And now it's the same here for LoonyMelb, where they made a lot of mistakes on the bristleback, where you couldn't have this formidable beast with just tanking up all the abilities, and then having someone like Alesh to come over and dish out all the damage and to take objectives, and then having a free farming Clinks to come in throughout the mid game and really ramp up all the damage you're missing. It's just, you're either team not playing the early game like they were needing to enable their draft, and it's really showing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me the Bristleback still has no armor item, and nor do they have any of the armor auras up on the team yet, right? They're building that Skadi and that Lotus Orb, but that's it, right? Like, the Clinks has a medallion, hasn't completed a solo crest or anything out of that, and the Bristleback in particular is kind of just settling for the Vanguard, which is not holding up, right? Like, that damage, that form of physical damage resistance does not scale to the massive, massive hits that you're taking with the Stone Gaze physical bonus, with the Tag Team physical bonus, all of the minus armor from this team, and this Viper, you know, is going to be breaking you on top of that, so you can't even rely on the Bristleback. Just the finite damage block, the fixed block from the Vanguard is really meager protection, and now we're seeing Bristle commit for an Aghanims instead. Like, that's obviously the item that's made Bristle strong this patch, but I feel like you need to make sure you're tanky first before you go back for it, and that's not what we're seeing at all in these fights.
No, it's not what we're seeing at all. Like, he's just getting ripped apart, and they don't, like, Pudge does have the shard now, so maybe we can see Die heavily commit on one person.
They give him the Psychic Headband as well, so they've got the cast range on top of that. No Aether Lens yet, but that's going to be, yeah, the giant save that they needed. Really lucky neutral item pickup.
Yeah, we'll see if that's just going to help them disrupt some of the initiation that Die have. Like, it's still only a 2,000 net worth lead, which honestly is really surprising considering, but you know, you got Slaughter, which top of the net worth, Medusa, again, not really farming a whole lot here.
I feel like that's just because Psycho Slayer, like, the team hasn't really been around him this game that much. They've been ganking the Bristle or whatever instead, or, you know, the Viper's off farming, and that means that Psycho Slayer has been playing very defensive, because so far in the game it's been very scary to run into Yarak, but now we can see the change of pace, because you find the Leshrac there, and Psycho Slayer's first instinct is to go for it. They throw out the Snake, and sure enough, the team are far away, but look at the range on that Eat Bug Finance, the defensive Dismember. It's only a 12-second cooldown. You immediately just bail Yarak out from spell range, and what could have been a really disastrous kill to give up is not given up. So now it's going to be interesting. Like, ostensibly, the Dire have the late game, right? You've got this Medusa, and your other two cores are doing great as well. But given that these teams have kind of been preying on each other's mistakes more than really playing dominant, clean Dota, especially in this game too, I wonder whether the ability to just easily clean up your mistakes like that might add up over the course of a longer game.
Yeah, we'll see if they are able to make up for some of the mistakes at the early stages. It might be a bit
Look on the Medusa. Oh, that creep just gets in the way. It was a bit ambitious. They tend to tip the Bug Finance as well. Are they going to still defend this tier 2? The whole Radiant team are there except the Leshrac. They're pushing out mid. He does not have travel, so it's going to be a TP back to this tier 2 if anything. And it looks like they might just be giving this tower up, although Darkflinger is really putting it on a good show defending here. They finally got some points from Cold Feet, so they push the Medusa back, and interesting to see. Yeah, Adelaide Uni not committing onto that tier 2, which is interesting. I mean, I would have thought they could maybe push the issue. Maybe they just don't want to spend their BKBs or whatever, but they ended up giving a mid tier 2 for no trade. They're going to take the fight at Roshan instead, and onto Yarak. That's a great catch. Where's the Pudge? Bug Finance, he's lurking, waiting for the opportunity, but Yarak is used up in the air instead. He resets his own fight, and the Dire, I mean, they're not in danger right now, but they definitely don't come away with anything, although Darkflinger, he's somehow behind them. He's going to rely on his Pudge to get the save. He's baited them onto the high ground choke point. A great Ice Blast ensues. Unleashed has Yarak, though, so they pay a price. WDK, the Ice Blast and Quills add up. They kill the Tusk. Bug Finance is there. He eats up the Bristleback, saves Darkflinger, and Vorkwar. He's waited the whole game for this opportunity. Comes in from behind, kills Viper, kills Medusa. This slider is massive. He just crushes the Clinks in 2 swings. Bug Finance tries to hook the fake Coddle Phantom, and I mean, maybe he'll still get run down. Master Jeff, he dies so fast. This is the Aghanims Bristle. It's not a defensive item at all, but Duckflinger doesn't need a defensive item when he has a pocket Pudge following him, you know, waiting dutifully to heat him up when he gets in trouble, and then spit him out to pick up an easy support kill. And now somehow it's LoonyMelb who are threatening the tier 3 tower of Adelaide Uni, despite all that's happened in the last 15 minutes.
Does have to be careful.
Oh, no! No, he doesn't. He has Bug Finance.
What a fight! I mean, again, if they win, they all have to give Unleashed some food. Like, I don't know, they gotta pay for his dinner or something. Just give this man a reward. He's actually putting them on the back right now, making sure they do not get eliminated here in the lower division. He's having such an incredible performance, and again, Radiant are just not respecting the minus armor. And I mean, Bristleback's gonna go into a Lotus next. He's picked up that Plate Mail, so gonna give him an extra little bit of survivability, and that's really what they need. But you need more armor on your cores. Like, the Leshrac just got ripped apart.
I mean, the Leshrac normally I think would be the one expecting the Pudge save, but they used it early on, and then sort of he got back into trouble. But they do at least have the Shivers finished on him. And Duckflinger, after that successful Aghanims deployment, the gamble's paid off. He's gone back for a Plate Mail, so now he's also building a Lotus, actually, since Pudge is transitioning into an Aether, just making sure the maximum range is available on that Pudge save. They really need to get the slider on the Pudge, or the Snowball on the Pudge, to prevent that, and they're going to get a chance to, because it looks like this fight is going to happen over Roshan. Darkflinger is red keen after that last match to make another fight happen. Of course, Bristleback, not really a hero who has long cooldowns, so why not? But, I mean, it's not like there's cooldowns really unavailable on the side of the Dire either. This is just another clean fight. Psycho Slayer got caught out by the Clinks last time, which ended up being the big factor, but they've got at least the chance to lay down sentries here at the pit and really control it. Make Vorkor's life very difficult. Both teams playing cagey right now. Roshan at half health. This one's worth cheese and a shard, so not something you can just afford to give up, and they pounce. Bod Finance, the offensive dismember this time, gets on Unleashed. They decide that's worth it, and it probably is, like you said, he has been carrying this Adelaide Uni side so far, so even though that puts your save on cooldown, it's worth it to get the kill, and it's already back up, because they managed to catch him so far outside the fight. Great scouting from the Clinks. Now they're going to get a free Roshan out of it.
The classic caster's curse. What more could I say? We give him props for Unleashed, which he does, of course, deserve. But as soon as we say the boy's going to buy him some dinner or something, he just gets picked off. Gives away the Ages, the Cheese, the Aghanim Shard as well. Who's got that one? I believe Clinks.
Yeah. The Skeleton Walk army is pretty strong. We may not see the Aghanims this game, but the Burning Army will be making an appearance, and that's just even more physical damage, right? Like, I guess both teams are playing these like multi-threat lineups. We haven't seen Vorkor dominate every fight this game, but he was instrumental in getting what they did out of that last winning fight and sort of setting up this chain of play that's seen them now take a 4K net worth lead on the side of LoonyMelb. I'm a little bit concerned to see him getting stronger and stronger. Yeah,
it is worrying to see, because he's going to have... He didn't actually go for the 125 attack range talent, which is interesting. A lot of times the way that you counter Medusa is just outranging her, so she's unable to get up in your face and use that snake. So I thought he was going to go like a Hurricane Pike attack range talent and maybe get lucky with a neutral item as well, which, I mean, he does even have the Grow Bow. So, you know, he's kind of going for a different build, but this just means he's got to stand his ground and really burst heroes down, get in, get out. Like, their key target, you see what happens. You kill the Slider, can really cause a lot of chaos in the fight of Dire, because, you know, Viper has kind of gone for a scaling build. He's gone at least all the talents apart from the attack speed, but, you know, still went the attack range to 70 damage. He's got the Hurricane Pike, the Maelstrom, the BKB, so he's going to look to scale into the late game. But the Keeper of the Light is mainly just, you are enabling your Medusa, just refreshing the abilities. The Tusk as well is mainly just enabling the damage, maybe a save potential or a BKB piercing stun, but they're going to be careful right here.
LoonyMelb feel very strong right now, and I honestly don't blame them. I didn't think that the slowish farm on this Medusa was going to be a factor, but Psycho Slayer is not having the damage right now to turn these fights, and the multiple high damage cores from LoonyMelb are making their weight felt, although this time they're going in a bit deep. This is where their last fight went bad, but this time you look at the difference. Slider runs in BKB, runs into the Burning Army of Clinks, and bails out of the fight, leaving the Viper to die. The rest of their team are just playing with Duckflinger on the side of the fight, and now Duckflinger has completed a Lotus Orb. He's suddenly tanky, just like that. They didn't focus the Slider target with the rest of their team, and I mean, TK on the Viper seemed to just completely lose the message when Unleashed pull back. Is the pressure of carrying the game on this Slider hero is starting to get to their team, and someone else needs to be able to step up, but right now I'm not sure who it is. Psycho Slayer, he's trying to be the one standing in the front line for his team, but he's just going to get cold feeded as a result. And Duck Flinger, he's been so weak all game, but the Bristleback hero, this Aghanim's is insane. I might have to eat my words. He's just been unstoppable ever since he bought it, and they pop the Stone Gaze, they trap him in the base. It was a really well-timed ultimate. They're still going to lose both their supports to the sheer automatic damage output of the Bristle, and now the Ice Blast, it's actually targeting Unleashed. Great choice. They're going to force the Slider back to his base. No turn onto Vorkwar, but Psycho Slayer, I thought he was not long for this world. If that Ice Blast connected, at least he will be able to defend his racks as Medusa. But man, shaky crowd for Adelaide Uni, given how well this game's gone for them. They've lost the net worth lead, they've lost the top net worth positions, and this Medusa, I mean, even once you complete this Skadi, I'm not certain that you're the raid boss yet. It seems like the game hasn't somehow gone her way.
No, and we're just the entire game bringing up like somehow this Medusa's actually just not farming really well at all, which was very surprising. But again, it's going to just be so difficult to kill her. She's going into the Skadi next item, so another kind of defensive item. Skadi's great though versus someone like the Bristleback, which I might add. Even the Pudge as well, just kind of the sustain. But you've got the Aghanims, you got the Aghanim shot as well with the Keeper of the Light. You've got a lot of survivability for the Medusa. So the way that Radiant win these fights, you just have to kite the Medusa. That's all you go for in these fights. Aim the Slaughter, aim the Cuddle. You get on top of the Viper, that's great.
Unleashed feels pretty tanky right now, but there is a double damage Daedalus Desolator Orb of Destruction Clinks hanging around the area, and I was very scared for a moment, but that rune buff runs out before they can really make a kill happen. Under the tier 2 tower is a pretty risky place to dive anyway. That being said, Vorkwar's damage, like, Vorkwar has been such a stabilizing influence on his team, in particular this game where they've needed it, right? Like, we questioned the early game decision making, but at least they were able to isolate their Clinks and give him great farm, and even though it took him a while to get to the level where he was comfortable deploying that in fights, it's starting to pay off big now, and I don't think that that's a temporary thing. He's here to stay. That strafe cooldown talent means that he is just a consistent damage output carry in these fights if he doesn't die, and I mean, despite the burst damage of the Slider and the Tusk in the last couple of fights, it hasn't felt like they have the possibility of killing this Clinks anymore. He has the BKB, he has enough damage that they, you know, it's a risk to go on him, and, you know, he's got Bogged Finance as a save, so suddenly, yeah, the team fights are a dicey proposition for Adelaide Uni.
Yeah, they really are. You just see how difficult it is now for them. Like, it's going to get a little bit easier once the Aghanims is picked up from the Keeper of the Light. Getting the Will-O-Wisp or the Ignis is going to give them a nice AoE controlling factor. But we kind of, the past fights have been all on vision. Like, I haven't been the ones initiating with the Slaughter, bursting one key target down, and it's also been the factor of the Pudge. He's got Telescope, sorry, he's got the Psychic Headband, he's got the 8th Lens, so the cast range on the Saving Dismembers is through the roof, and especially with that Blink capability as well. We're going to have to see...
And, oh, great, you talked about it being on vision, but the save from Bogged Finance again! This is what we talked about, right? The ability to just save your carry instead of the Leshrac dying. Now they just get to reset the fight. Yarak's healed up so much from the Dismember. Psycho Slayer's trying to bring him down. The spit out maybe was premature, so they just eat him again. They're just toying with them. Bogged Finance abusing this Pudge right now, and Duckflinger is abusing the Dire, but Unleashed gets onto him. That BKB time, it doesn't last long though. The Bristleback's health bar is going to last longer. In the chaos of this fight, both teams are losing heroes, or at least starting to lose heroes. It's only the Dire who's actually suffered deaths, and okay, they finally bring down Duckflinger, but the ability of Bogged Finance to juggle his cores as they take damage has been so powerful. We talked about the Pudge's lack of impact in the early game, but he just dismantled the Dire in that fight. Every core they went on just got eaten. They ate the Leshrac twice, and without the ability to get deep into the lineup and punish this Pudge, it seems actually impossible for Adelaide Uni to win at all.
And this is this is just what I was saying as late game Dota. Like, survivability comes so much into play. If you've got a saving support that can kind of null out an initiation from the enemy team, it just wastes some stuns. It means that the next 10 seconds can be for free, and that's exactly what's just happening here from the Pudge, where we're seeing the difference. You know, the Pudge Dismember, instead of like the defensive snowball, they get a full set of racks mid. They're going to look for top as well now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit unfair to directly compare in this game the snowball to the Pudge, because there's not even a blink on the Tusk. It hasn't really built that way, but I mean, this is not just the saving support. This is perhaps the most powerful saving support ever in Dota. The cooldown on this defensive dismember, the 6% hit point per second heal, the range. Yarak got completely clean initiated on, right? Like, without that punch there, that's a disastrous fight. Your best case scenario is you leave your Leshrac to die and everyone else bails. But instead, you don't just save the Leshrac and run away from the fight. Yarak was at half hit points just a few seconds later, dumped a bunch of mana on the Medusa in damage, absorbed damage from the enemy team, and then just got eaten again. Like, this combination of high damage output, usually fragile cores, with this absolutely ironclad, reliable save and heal, is so powerful, and I'm not sure what they do to counter it other than just pop all BKBs and dive the Pudge with everything they have next fight.
And that's the thing, though. That's so difficult to dive someone like a Pudge with how, like, he's got 2,800 HP.
Yeah.
4 staff now for positioning.
With a Medusa Viper Coddle draft as well, right? Like, this is really good drafting out of LoonyMelb. Oh, they find him, though! They find him! He walked under the same ward the Leshrac did! You've got to scout that out! And this time they do get Bug Finance! How will the fight go? It's a great Ice Blast on the whole dire team, though! And there's a lot of damage even without the Pudge, but the survivability will be an issue! Bug Finance, he's brought back, so he saves Yarak's life, but even in the time he was away, they lost the Bristle. And now, can they make this fight pay? Psycho Slayer turns, stands his ground, throws the Snake out, tons of damage, and now they're disabled from the Pudge, though. The Pudge buyback!
Might be just be GG.
That's so brutal. They did it. They did what they had to do. They immediately killed Bog Finance and it started to pay off, but he just snaps off the buyback and immediately the fight goes all wrong for Adelaide Uni. They have no answer to this 4-pos Pudge.
Yeah, a great buyback choice coming through from the Pudge there. Just like you said, they've got no answer to him. He's being such a nuisance through these fights.
Oh.
Another incredible Ice Blast as well.
Yeah.
On to 4. It's just time and time again, we're seeing AEST get some really, really solid Ice Blasts. They're able to turn it around from there. And honestly, I'm surprised they're not just all walking it down. I mean, Medusa's got no buyback. Maybe they're not aware of this, but they're definitely...
The buyback status is on gold, so they're respecting the possibility of Medusa buyback. She is a very powerful hero under her tier 4s. They don't want to force things, right? Because your strength is retreating in a sense with Bugged Finance in play. They are also without their Duck Flinger, so they're just going to hang back and farm the available map. We saw how comfortable they were doing that in Game 1. And look, there's even a Roshan available. So, yeah, they're not killing the base, but it does only feel like a temporary stay of execution. There was a window there for the side of Adelaide Uni, but maybe they didn't realize how small it was. This Pudge hero, not the conventional thing you think of as a threat to your game, but boy, has it worked out that way. And with a Trickster Cloak now even, like if you feel it's okay to give up the 100 cast range on the Psychic Headband, Bug Finance could be invisible in these fights, saving heroes. Spooky stuff.
It is spooky stuff. What are you going to be able to do against him? He's already just been a thorn in your side the entirety of this game, and honestly, it could just be starting to get worse and worse here. As Radiant, they're going to be able to get the Ages and the Cheese, and we see all the extra usage coming through. Was that the Aghanims or the Shard? For that
the Shard was the last Roche kill.
The refresher, sorry. Aghanims or the refresher, I meant.
I did not see which one it was. I think it would be the Ags, because there's no refresher on their team, so...
Yeah, it looks like Clint's
for who has it. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Good detective work.
Or the Lesh.
No, the Lesh is holding a scepter.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's the Clinks is the only one with the blessing, so... I mean, that's a very powerful Aghanims, right? You just get a free teamfight spell, that Burning Army. And now that you're in the base, they maybe needed a little bit of an extra oomph, a little bit of extra damage. That's going to make it even more fraught, right? You want to dive the team to chase down the Pudge and finish off kills, but you'll be diving through Burning Army, through the Bristleback Spines with an Ice Blast on. Like, it's just... It's so hard to math out a way that they win this fight, and, I mean, you said you hate nerds, and Bog Finance has played a pretty smug, nerdy kind of game on this Pudge, almost like he knows that all he has to do is buy this Dismember Shard and let it do the work, but, I don't know, if you can't beat it, you have to respect it in a sense.
Wait, let me clarify as well. I am a nerd. So
yes,
like,
yes.
The nerdy plays is when you're sitting in a tree as a Pudge, hooking the first 4 range creeps of the game. That's like real sweaty nerdy stuff.
You're not playing Dota at the point. You're like, I looked up in the latest Reddit thread on what to do to be overpowered in a cheesy way, and it says I gotta hook these creeps. It's like, I mean, I don't know, that I can't say that worked out. I don't know if I would you know, if they play this game again, that they would do the same. But it certainly hasn't hurt the late game potential of this pick, which is what they clearly chose it for, right? You know, Medusa, no longer the late game queen, it's this Pudge.
Yeah, it really is, and that's just... I always like saving. I just have such a...
Look at this Clinks. Look how confident Vorkor is. Runs up the hill into 5 heroes and a Will-O'-the-Wisp and just gets eaten. Bog Finance, they did catch him with the Will-O'-the-Wisp. You mentioned how important that is, but there's just too much save now. They were caught. The rest of the team carefully stayed back and they push him back out of the Will. Now they're trying to fight deep. Psycho Slayer's been separated from the team this time. This Medusa, she's not that tanky. Not surrounded by all of these high damage claws. Duck Flinger is there to zone out the rest of the team. The buyback from Psycho Slayer. This will be the last stand, but they're diving in deep right now. They know their Pudge is there to babysit them. He actually got eaten from a screen away. It's sometimes hard to tell what's going on because there's no spell effect, but just assume Bog Finance has saved anyone. If it looks like they died, they didn't really, and it looks like there's just no way. You can't actually kill any heroes. You also can't hold your base. There's the GG, nearly. Psycho Slayer just playing it out, but they're all diebacked, and there's the call. Congratulations, Bog Finance, you filthy Pudge exploiter. You and LoonyMelb will be carrying on here in the finals. I guess if you're going to do it, you have to do it in an elimination game. And just like TI3 Na'Vi, it's the busted Pudge strats that are going to carry LoonyMelb onwards in the AEL finals.
Yeah, what...
From that moment on, the game just went disastrous.
Power heading into late game. You just saw what they could do. Like, it just nulled out one initiation, put some abilities on cooldown. Like, they literally used Ignis, Stone Gaze in that last fight on the high ground, and Pudge just dismembered, and they reset, and that's two big ultimates completely wasted. And what do you do after that? I mean,
yeah,
Medusa was too far out. Like, it was just... in the end, I think it's just like maybe the experience, but maybe just the communication and coordination that LoonyMelb have. They just look like they're a team on another page. KGS leading them as well in the 5. He's been getting a lot of help from external players in different leagues here. So it's just really nice to see LoonyMelb, pulling together as a team and taking a 2-0 victory. They're going to be able to move on here in the lower division.
Yeah, absolutely. We play no favorites here on the commentary. Obviously, like you said, it sucks to see any of these teams leave, so we maybe root for the underdog to get a Game 3 series or just strut their stuff, and I think that was definitely a better performance from Adelaide Uni Game 2, but LoonyMelb are the ones who've been putting in the hard work and producing some incredible performances. Many heroes and many players on this team, shining in one game or another. It's really a whole cast effort, and, not just in that they individually shot from time to time, but as a team, their macro gameplay was what set them apart this game. Like, if you look, I'm just putting the graphs up on the screen because I think it's worth showing. For all that we were celebrating the success of this Medusa draft and protecting their Medusa's space, and in Unleashed on the Slaughter just popping off with WDK, all their kills on the Bristleback in that early game space only kept the graph even. Like, they did that. At no point did they pull ahead material on resources. And just as it looked like in terms of win probability, it would start to go in the Medusa's favor just from sort of the natural progression to late game and her efficient use of gold, that's when the Pudge kicked in. And suddenly it actually spiked all the way back the opposite direction. So, you could call that a calculation in the draft from LoonyMelb, just knowing to trust Bog Finance in the late game. But their whole gameplay... kept them so close that as soon as they had that extra advantage built up from the Pudge Shard build, they just immediately dominated. Maybe it would have been different with more efficient farm, but for whatever reason, Adelaide Uni just could not make it happen for their Medusa. So that'll be their run here in the finals, of course. Shout outs to them for all their efforts, and they're sure to be back. Obviously, this will not be the last you see of the AEL Uni League, but it will be the last you see of it for tonight. Shout outs to our sponsors, of course, in particular Chatime, our bubble tea partner, and Indomie, our noodle sponsor. Those two we didn't get to earlier, but they are equally as important, especially Chatime, who've been a major sponsor of the league for so long. But, Aries, thanks so much for the cast. Appreciate the insights, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of this team, especially in the finals against some of the really strong squads we've seen as well.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting to see how LoonyMelb is able Refugee Esports and UNSW Ding Dongs, which actually might be going on right now as well. I see elites in a lobby, so that might be occurring tonight as well. So we're going to have a couple more series left until we get to the later stages here of the playoff bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's all for us from now from the cast. So thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been really good to catch these games tonight, and hope to get back to you soon with more from the cast. But I've been the Awanderingbard, and I hope that you'll make sure to follow everyone and of course the league to see when you can tune in and hear us again. It'll be a pleasure.